Welcome to everyone's favorite podcast intro, Gabbing the Ghouls, where we gab a ghoul.
That's great. What does gabagool mean, Noah?
It doesn't really matter, does it?
It
It's a
does.
verb.
It means we're talking about movies we watched between recordings. And for me personally, that's just Hellbender.
How'd you like
I
that?
only have Hellbender logged. I loved it.
Hellbender was fun.
Yeah?
Oh, The
Cool.
Mangler. I did watch The Mangler as well, but I'll talk about that in a sec. I loved Hellbender. Hellbender 2021. We saw the preview at Erie Horror Fest last year,
2 years.
before,
Probably
Yeah.
a year before.
2 years ago. And it's a amateur ish horror film, but a lot of the effects and stuff really take it up
Yeah.
to like a 10. The acting was really good. I will say one thing. It's a kind of like mother-daughter relationship critique of overprotection and like not wanting your daughter to become who you are or have to go through what like the cycle of abuse and whatever. I don't know if I actually want to say on a recording how I felt about how it was handled, but I will say it. Ask me again some other time how I felt. The
Okay.
movie itself was beautiful. The acting was good. The effects were fun. The story was succinct and well told.
Mhm.
So I think I gave it like a 4 out of 10 because it does just suffer from a lot of the stuff that amateur films suffer from.
Oh,
The
sure.
effects are not great at a lot of points, but I would highly recommend it.
Cool.
For sure. If you like folk horror and witches and mother-daughter bullshit. Or Devil's Candy. I love Devil's Candy, and this had a lot of the same vibes in a lot of ways.
Oh, okay. Neat.
I don't know why I said I love Devil's Candy like you guys don't know that already.
Yeah, you sounded like defensive about it, but that's okay. That's okay. We'll forgive you.
Okay. And then we watched The Mangler, 1995.
I loved The Mangler.
Yeah?
Have y'all seen The
I
Mangler?
have not
Toby
seen
Hooper's The Mangler?
Toby
Have
Hooper's
not.
The Mangler, no.
I would genuinely.
Y'all.
What the fuck is this movie?
Okay, this movie is full of characters never before seen,
Yeah?
It
doing
has-
accents no one's ever heard.
Yeah?
So The Mangler is about it's based on a Stephen King, which will become abundantly clear
Okay.
once I say the premise.
Sure.
Mhm.
It is about a speed steaming laundry machine and folder that kills people.
Oh.
Oh, no. It's also possessed.
Oh,
yeah, it
good,
is.
good, okay.
Oh.
Mm-hmm.
Also, Robert Englund is there.
Oh, cool.
Robert Englund's in it.
As
Ted
he should,
Levine,
as he should.
he's in it.
Okay.
Daniel Matmore, this is like the only movie he's in. Jade may recognize him if
May I?
they were to look him up from
All right.
oh,
hold
you'll
on.
recognize
Give me just a second.
one
I gotta
picture of
Google
him
the
for sure.
Mangler so I can find this guy. Poster for this goes
Why do you
kind of
think-
hard.
It does go kind of hard.
It
but
goes
the movie
crazy
itself
hard.
sucks.
It does not
It does
suck.
not
It's
suck.
one of the
It's
greatest
actually
movies
really
ever made.
okay. So
That's not true.
here's the craziest thing about The Mangler, a movie where
IMDb doesn't
um,
have a picture for Daniel Matmore.
yeah, you should just look up Mark from The Mangler. The crazy thing about The Mangler though is that at some point it's like got Willy Wonka vibes to just like
Yeah.
dark Willy Wonka vibes to the whole thing. You would not think a movie about a speed folding machine that kills people would have this kind of like over the top like set design and character design that just takes the whole thing up to like a Willy Wonka like level. So yeah, I don't know that I would say I recommend it, but I did watch it and I didn't hate it. So yeah.
The way I described Daniel Matmore in this is Daniel Matmore as Paul McCartney if he was in The Lost Boys being played by Sebastian Stan.
Okay, so I was gonna say, of all the images that I'm getting popping up here, is he the Matt Berry ass looking dude?
Yeah.
So the answer is yes. Yeah, okay.
Did it click with you what you know him from yet?
It has not.
It's the image I used for the NPC in the Dread game that you guys all hated.
Oh my god. I did not
A
realize
truly
that.
truly insufferable
not
fellow.
realize
In this
that.
movie he's
Oh my god.
okay, so I can't remember what podcast had this bit. I cannot remember. But he literally Ted Levine is a detective and he comes back home to I think Daniel Matmore is supposed to be like his brother-in-law
It's his
or
brother-in-law,
something.
but his sister is dead.
Okay. Okay.
Widowed brother-in-law.
So, and he comes in and he's trying to explain what's going on. And the man is just like, well, I mean, unless you ever worked in an industrial laundry. And he's like, well, actually, I did work at an industrial laundry when I was in school at Cambridge. And he
Yeah,
describes
right.
the speed
Fucking-
folding steamer. And he's like, oh, that's called a mangle. And he's like, a mangler? No, a mangle. And then he calls it a mangler for the rest of the movie. But he also, so the podcast bit was anytime someone enters the story with a little too much information about the thing that they're there for, they referred to them as the mangler expert. And then the big book of Mangler, because not only is he a guy who knows about the mangle for some reason,
Right.
he also has this occult book that outlines the entire plot of the movie.
That makes sense.
Everything is contained within this one man, and it's really great. Cannot stress enough.
Yeah,
Accents you've never ever heard before, and characters never seen again. They are truly something different. And then the ending is the most Stephen King ass bullshit you've ever seen.
It should have ended at one point, and then it continues on for another 10 to 30 minutes.
That is the way.
This is almost a Return of the King style ending.
Yeah?
Where it ends 3 different times. It's a really good one. I enjoyed it.
That's all I watched, though. Haven't had time to watch anything else, and I probably won't because of video games. I'm sorry.
Oh, sure. We've all been there.
Let's see. I watched Life Force. Do you know about Life Force?
Toby Hooper's Life Force?
Yeah.
I am familiar with it, yes.
You've seen it?
I have not seen all of it. I have seen, I don't know, maybe the first half.
I had fun with it.
Yeah.
I'm not going to lie to you.
How do they resolve that?
I thought it was... Do you want to know?
No, you know what? I want to watch it. Never mind.
It's very funny. The way they resolve it is very
Well,
funny.
the whole setup
I guess
is
though
pretty
the original
funny,
title,
so-
the original title was just Space Vampires.
Yeah, that works.
And I'm really glad that they changed it to Life Force, because I won't lie to you, it would be very difficult for you to convince me to watch a movie called Space Vampires. Now, that being said, Audra, this is so important. You got to check this movie out if it ever actually, like whenever it comes out. It is Vampire Zombies from Space.
Yeah.
I got to see what turned out to be the world premiere of this movie at the local horror fest. But it's so funny. The whole thing is like guys who like horror movies but also understand how like shitty horror movies work in a way that doesn't seem like they're being try hard about being funny.
What's it
the
called?
whole thing, Vampire Zombies from Space. It's all in
okay.
it's new, it's in black and white, and it is a like homage to B movies and trauma.
Oh boy. Oh well,
it is-
Lloyd Kaufman's in it, so yeah, definitely.
Lloyd Kaufman is in it as the public masturbator. You do not
Yes.
see his penis. I want to get out ahead of this.
Okay, good to know.
I can't remember if anyone's penis is visible in this, but it's not Lloyd's. If there is one, it's not his.
Are you sure?
Very funny
Okay.
though. I truly had a blast with that.
Isn't it Vampire Zombies ... from space? I just want to emphasize.
Yeah, okay, fine. The vampires UFOs have fangs and they fly in
Oh
a
my God.
flapping bat formation.
That's funny as hell.
Right.
I watched Crimes of the Future.
Hey!
Not the one you're thinking of.
Aw.
I
Okay,
watched
here's the thing, Jade.
God damn it.
It's
Here's the thing, Jade. You put it on the November list, I think.
I did put it
and
on the November list.
Noah already had it on the Hooptober
I
list.
forgot
so
about that.
and I wanted to watch the new one with Noah
Right,
when he
right.
watched it.
Did you know David Cronenberg in the 70s put out Crimes of the Future?
I did not know that. I'm not super familiar with
It's-
a ton of his early stuff.
I'm not going to lie to you. I have learned that I do not care for David Cronenberg outside of his like more commercial endeavors.
Oh yeah,
It's a little bit of a weird one.
it's a
It's 63
Cronenberg
minutes
movie,
long, and
Noah.
I think it took me an hour and a half to get through.
Okay,
This is
Difficult.
much more experimental.
sure.
It's very
I
different.
don't mind that. Maybe I give that a shot.
Yeah, check it out. I think that you'll find it interesting.
Ah.
At the very least, to check off all of your future crimes.
My Cronenberg
Yeah, I don't know, I don't-
completionism run.
I watched The Angry Black Girl and Her Monster.
What'd you think of that?
And I thought it was a
Yeah,
blast.
it's nice, right? I liked it.
Yeah, no, very much so. I don't know. I think that you had warned me to make sure that I knew that it was like an indie film. To make sure that my like expectations were like tempered, and then it was like the prettiest looking indie film I've seen.
Yeah,
in
it blows
ages.
your expectations
So,
out of the water when you know that kind of thing, right?
Yeah, you kind of didn't need to warn me. It was actually just really pretty good.
There's a handful of moments where it looks like the cameras are kind of cheap. Is kind of all that I was thinking of. I think.
Well, yeah, but the light work is
the
like,
light
really
work
good,
is
and the story
great,
is a lot of fun.
right? Oh my god!
I watched it right after we watched the 30s Frankenstein, and it was a good pairing.
I bet. Now I still got to get you to watch Frankenhooker.
It'll happen eventually.
Oh, that's amazing. You gotta watch
I've
that
heard
one.
it's, I've heard it's a very good
I
time.
need that's one's on the list for sure. I only repeatedly hear good things about it.
From me.
From Jade. That one in
Slumber Party Massacre 2.
Yeah.
Slumber Party Massacre 2.
Rock and roll will never die.
That's my profile picture on Twitter, and I fucking love him.
I love that guy.
I love him. He's so good.
I love him so much.
He's only been in like 3 movies ever.
No, really?
He's like the heir to
Yeah.
the Little Caesars family or some shit.
What?
Yeah. Yeah.
Yeah, like
Oh, that's-
acting
yeah, that's
is
so-
entirely just a passion.
He's like a
thing for
million. He's
him.
like a billionaire.
Yeah.
Yeah.
Incredible.
He's got tons of
Okay.
money. Apparently he survived a brain tumor or like brain cancer
Holy
or
shit.
something, which is crazy. Yeah.
Rock and roll will never die.
It never will.
Holy shit, that's wow.
I know. I was like, that's crazy.
He's a lot like John Kramer from Saw.
I get what you're trying to say here, Jade, but it's so important for you to understand John Kramer did not survive his brain tumor.
Well, technically, he didn't die from the
Well,
brain tumor. So.
That's true. That's not what took him out.
So if you think about it,
I
he totally
mean-
survived it. Anything else,
He
Noah? Or is
definitely
that-
would have.
He would have. He
Well, yeah,
totally
he
would.
would've, but-
He was so close.
Not by spite. I was going to say by spite, but I really don't think it's spite that keeps him going. It's purpose.
It's yes. Thank you, Noah. Good save.
Audra, you watch any good movies recently?
Yeah. I watched a Japanese horror called Noroi the Curse.
Ooh, I've been meaning to watch
Yo!
that.
Holy
Oh
shit.
my god. It's basically
It's-
about this paranormal investigator. It's like it's a found footage. So a little preface, I'm not the biggest found footage fan ever,
That's
but
fine.
Neither am I.
this October I did try to watch a lot more because I'm just like, maybe I just haven't found the one for me yet. And I did watch a few that I liked. Like I watched As Above, So Below. That was okay. I watched
the
Ganjoyam,
Ganjam.
the Haunted Asylum. Yeah,
Mhm.
Ganjam. That one was pretty good too.
favorite of
But
this
then I watched
podcast.
Noroi, and I was actually blown away. I think that it's my favorite found footage movie ever. It scared the shit out of me.
Ooh.
It's
Damn,
no,
I'll
it's
have to
so
watch that for
mean. It's
sure.
brutal, and it's
Ooh.
It's very brutal.
I watched it with a friend of the podcast, Rob, on the shittiest, like crustiest rip you've ever seen.
Oh, was that one of Rob's?
We watched it separately. We didn't
Oh,
watch
okay,
it on
I
the
see.
wheel days.
All right.
Because I guess it's hard to find like legal copies to buy in the
Oh.
States, at least when he was looking for it.
Okay.
So we
It's
watched.
now on Shudder.
Oh well, there you go.
That's good because that means that people can actually see it. We had it definitely legally acquired via his Plex server. And I tell you, that movie gains a lot by just being a lower quality thing. It already looks real. And when you turn the resolution down a little bit, it looks really realer.
Oh.
It's
Yeah.
brutal.
Finally
It's
a
It's
movie
really
for me
good.
to use my
really
CRT
brutal.
emulator on.
It's genuinely terrifying. Like,
Cool.
Mhm.
oh my! I can't even like go into too much detail because it's kind of like it feels like things aren't really connected. Like it kind of just continues on, and then as things start ramping up, everything starts kind of falling into place, and it just kind of makes. And
yeah.
then oh my god, that last act is fucking crazy.
Fucking hell.
Cool.
It
But yeah, definitely
truly
a good
is
one.
one of the found footage movies that like sticks the landing in a way that you really almost never see.
Right. That was
God,
what I
I'm
wanted
really
out of Hell
excited.
House.
Mm.
That's what I wanted
Mm.
out of Hell House, but it didn't deliver.
Yeah.
But this one delivers.
Have you seen the most recent Hell House?
Carmichael Manor.
I liked that one. That was the only one
right.
that I
Me too.
liked.
It's solid, isn't it?
That's
Same.
fair.
It was pretty good.
We watched Carmichael Manor for the podcast, and then I proposed to everyone we run the gauntlet, and most of us, I think,
I'm
watched
pretty sure
1, 2, 3,
all of
and
us.
Carmichael Manor.
No,
It
I
was
did
Nina
not.
Oh,
did
that's
not.
right.
Okay, the
You
rest
I
of us did.
abstained.
And I tell
That's
you,
right.
that was a slog.
Yeah.
Yeah.
It was
Yeah.
not
It's
fun.
they're
But
not
Carmichael
they're not
Manor was
good.
pretty good.
They are not
Yeah.
good.
Yeah, that
I
was
didn't watch them, and I know that.
I like the first one well
Yeah.
enough, but the second one is kind of just meaner, and the third one's so
It's
cheap, it's actually offensive.
horrible. I
And
did think I honestly thought the third one was like so bad it was kind of funny.
Yeah.
Like,
yeah, right?
Yeah.
I
It's
found
just
it kind of
goofy
I
at a
found it
certain
really
point.
funny.
Yeah.
It was truly heartbreaking
Yeah.
to me. Mike Flanagan, a favored creator of the podcast, really loves all of them. And I'm like, Mike, you don't have to be nice
Mike,
just because
what are
you
you
know the guy.
doing? What are
You
you
don't have to
doing,
you don't
Mike?
have to talk about this, buddy. You make good
Yeah.
movies. You make good TV shows. You don't have to tell me that Hell House 3 is good.
Ugh. I mean, like I said, the only one that was actually good to me was the Carmichael Manor
Yeah.
one. All the other ones were just not good
Carmichael
at
Manor
all.
actually scared the shit out of me. That's the first time a movie has actually done that to me in a very long
Since
time.
Host.
Yeah, it's got some
Since
really
Host.
serious
Yeah, when
moments.
Host
Oh,
came
that's a good
out.
one.
But oh god, I think we watched like an episode of Crime Scene Kitchen to try and wind down, and even after that, I was still like buzzing well after I was trying to go to bed.
Yeah, that was a
Really
spooky one.
worked. No, Roy, Jade, I think we'll do a similar thing for you if you're able to really like plug
Hell
in
yeah.
and appreciate it.
All right. Looking forward to it. I keep meaning to get back on that J-horror shit that I was on a few months ago. So maybe that is one to start with when I do that.
I have the first 3 Ring movies if you want to sit down and watch 2 and 0.
I have been meaning to watch 2 and 0.
I picked them up on Arrow's sale
Also The
over the summer,
Grudge.
I want to say, and I still haven't done it yet.
There's a handful of K-horror movies on my, I don't know, TBW, I guess. To be watched.
Tubi. I love Tubi.
I love
Oh, God.
Tubi.
And have you watched anything else, Audra?
Besides, just stuff I've seen before, not really.
Yeah.
I watched a lot of found footage to kind of like get myself in the spooky mood for Halloween, but that's about it really. I haven't really watched anything else that really stuck with me. Oh, I did watch Hocus Pocus too. It sucked.
I heard Hocus
I
Pocus
heard
2
it
was
sucked.
truly dog shit.
It's absolutely horrible. Like I tried to put it out of my memory, but yeah, nope, it was bad. Don't watch it. It's so not worth it.
Makes
It's so
sense.
corny.
Yeah, I still
Now,
never
if I can
saw
say,
Yeah, that's
though,
about it.
so
I feel like you're truly underselling your Halloween stretch, like what you watched on Halloween night. That was a
Oh,
great
yeah.
slew of movies.
yeah.
Was
Yes,
it
so
Child's
I
Play,
watched
Trick or Treat, No Roy, Halloween Original, and Terrifier 2.
Yes. Oh my god.
That
So the
kicks
reason
ass.
that I was working on I was watching Child's Play was because I got a last minute commission from a YouTuber that I really like, and he wanted me to get a thumbnail done within like the day, and I was like, you know what, I'll do it. Fuck it. So that was my getting through the commission.
I've
kind
been
of-
there.
That's so real.
Yeah.
That's me with Dungeon
And I was
Meshi
like-
right now. Whenever I gotta plug
Right.
in, I'm like, here's Dungeon
I
Mesh.
was- Exactly. I was like, let me lock in. So like I got everything done within like less than 24 hours, and I'm like, fuck yeah.
Hell yeah, jeez.
Yeah, but that was a good Halloween stretch. I won't lie.
We only watched Monster House for Halloween. I did not let
That's a good choice.
my Monster House watch because I was not paying attention.
I came in halfway
Yeah, I wasn't
through,
paying
but
attention to any of that at all.
you lose your wife,
You lose your
you
house.
lose your house.
Monster house.
Monster House.
We were drinking, and this was funny to us at the time because we said it over and over until it became funny.
That's how it goes.
Other people in the room were saying things like, "Are you still doing this? Oh my god!"
Yeah.
I think I left before it got to that point. It
You
was still
did.
funny when I left.
Was it though?
I think that's it, though. I think we're all
That's
caught
it
up.
for all of y'all. All right, so for me personally, things that I watched.
I forgot about Jade. I'm sorry.
I know. You just completely forgot about me. So I have not been watching a ton of movies lately, which if you've been keeping up with the ghouls, you've probably noticed. This is because I've been playing too much Helldivers and trying to write music that's being difficult to me at the moment. But I've also been watching this show, this Tim Robinson show called Detroiters, and goddamn it, I love it.
I've heard Detroiters is very
It's-
good.
So far, I can definitely back that. I'm really, really enjoying it. But in terms of movies, just the other night, me and Becca watched Birds of Prey and the emancipation of the fantabulous emancipation of Harley Quinn.
It doesn't
It
Tell
does
you
not
what, oh
matter.
my god,
Loved Birds of Prey.
I have never.
That was, I think, the
watched
last
a
movie we saw in theaters before
I
COVID.
bet.
It was.
I bet it was because
yeah.
that was not a year that a lot of movies came out for you to catch in the theaters at that point.
Mine was Cats.
Mine was
Rest in peace.
Oh no!
mine was Fantasy Island.
Oh shit, that was mine.
Yeah, which was I
Yeah, it was Fantasy
I didn't
Island.
like it.
Then.
I thought it was dumb and stupid, but yeah, whatever.
I want to rewatch it so
It's
bad.
a Blumhouse. Birds
Listen,
of Prey.
Of the 3 last movies I watched before COVID was Underwater, Birds of Prey, and Fantasy Island. I haven't rewatched.
You're
Fantasy
2 for
Island
3
yet.
at least. I love Birds of Prey though. It was fun as hell. Really liked it.
That's a good one.
I have never seen an egg sandwich look so absolutely delicious in a movie. Holy shit.
Oh,
When we
that egg
watched that in
sandwich,
theaters,
Right.
Noah made that every day.
it had me in a chokehold over COVID. I bought
It's about
ciabatta
to have
bread
me.
just to make them every day.
I'm fighting myself not to do that tomorrow morning. Like,
Why?
you know what? You're right.
That's right. Let's go.
Yeah, loved it though. Just really fun in the way that it like presented itself and everything. Good, good action and stunts and whatnot. Good performances from everybody. I kind of got the impression Ewan McGregor was imitating a specific guy who just annoyed him.
Yeah, that definitely was.
I can see
He
that.
vibes.
seems that way, doesn't he? The whole movie. Yeah, loved it though.
Definitely.
Really good
Yeah,
time.
good shit. And that was it for me. I'm about to watch Starship Troopers because I'm doing a trade with a friend where I'm making him watch John Carpenter's The Thing because for some reason he hasn't seen it, and he's making me watch Starship Troopers, which I should have seen but haven't.
That's not a bad trade.
Yeah, right? We're both winning.
Yeah, honestly, I think you're really both coming out on top here.
Yeah.
Not a bad
Yeah,
trade.
I'm happy with it.
You know what else is not bad? And then we
And
fade
then
into
the
Saw
music
2.
fades.
Yeah, okay. Yeah,
Welcome back to Casual Obsession, the horror movie podcast where we talk about horror movies. I am your host, Noah. Today, pronouns he, they. Today we have a guest with us, Audra.
Hello. My name is Audra, and I go by she, they, or they, she. Doesn't really matter.
Today we also have Nina.
Oh yes, we do also have me, and my name's Nina, and I go by they them pronouns.
And we also have Jade.
And that's me, and I'm Jade, and I go by they, she pronouns.
And LOL, so funny. Our second
Hilarious.
Saw episode that Emma's not able to be here for. R.I.P. Emma, we know that you hate
And
Saw.
this is after they watched Saw, the first one.
No, okay, that was
And didn't
so
hate
funny.
it,
because
right?
they did
Liked it, in
yes.
fact.
Yeah.
So for context, Emma refused to be here for the first Saw episode because they really didn't think that they would like it. And they were like, I don't want to talk about it. And we're like, that's fine. We really like Saw, so we'll talk about it without you. And then they watched Saw later on and actually really liked it. And then they just happened to not be able to make it today. So now we're accidentally doing a thing where I guess Emma never gets to talk about Saw.
Truly a
Oh,
shame.
bummer. Bummer.
Well, or it's more
That being said-
they get to wait for the later sequels when things get like really kind of like soap opera absurd, which is objectively the better section of the series. I
Yeah,
feel
Saw
like.
3, we know. It takes off on the soap opera train right away.
Yeah.
God, I love Saw so much, man. Speaking of, we're watching Saw 2, as I said. You may know Saw 2 as the nerve gas house Saw or the needle pit Saw.
Needle Pit Saw for sure.
One of
Needle
those
Pit
two
Saw.
things is going to resonate with you, and it's probably Needle Pit. The long and short of it is, the detective finally tracks down Detective Matthews. I was trying to remember, what's his name? Which Wahlberg is he?
Donnie.
Donnie
Donnie
Wahlberg.
Wahlberg.
Donnie.
It's truly, I'm already derailing. It's truly a shame that we didn't get more Donnie Wahlberg in these Saw movies.
I don't agree. I
I also don't
I-
agree.
No, he's a truly detestable fellow in this, and
Horrible, yeah.
I hate him
Truly
so much.
terrible.
And I just think it would be fun to have more of Eric Matthews getting the shit kicked out of him. Although having him trussed up next to Hoffman was also fun. So,
I was gonna
your
say,
small
where are
blessings
we
in
gonna
life.
have where are we gonna fit more of him? That we would have to sacrifice so much that we already have.
We could
Yeah,
just get an extra
honestly.
Saw movie.
Oh, another okay.
Oh boy.
Saw 7. This time it's less misogynistic, but it also has Donnie Wahlberg.
Ooh, what a trade.
How does that happen?
Wouldn't it be
That's
more
what they call.
misogynistic?
Listen, miracles can happen, okay?
Like you bring him in, but you have his mouth taped the whole time or something? Like, I don't know.
Yeah, Saw 4.
Anyway, what is this movie about, Noah?
Anyway, Detective Matthews, his son is kidnapped, and he doesn't know that until he kicks down Jigsaw's front door in an incredibly careless maneuver that gets like several of his dude's legs broken. But
That does happen.
Jigsaw's like, actually, you can't do anything to me because look at that monitor over there. And it's his kid in the nerve gas house with a lot of people that Matthews has planted evidence for to get them jail time.
This is supposed to be the spoiler-free review, Noah.
You know what? That's a good point. But
Yeah.
also that all happens in the first like 7 minutes.
But the reveal
It's
that they all
true,
have that
but-
connection isn't until the end.
Oh.
Yeah, that's literally like one
Damn.
of the big twists of the movie.
I apologize,
Damn.
everyone. Spoiler alert for the 19-year-old Saw 2.
Yeah.
If you're listening to this, you better know what happens in Saw 2.
It
But
turns
that
out
is
John Kramer is Jigsaw the whole time. Did anyone know this?
Someone didn't watch the preliminary material.
Are you guys seeing this shit?
Actually, I want to ask, how was the Saw 20th anniversary event?
It was-
How was that?
So I went to Los Angeles to go see Saw because I'm just that much of a nerd for this franchise, and it was pretty great. I mean, it was basically just seeing it on the huge screen filled with tons and tons. Like it was a packed house. I think it was sold out completely, and it was kind of magical because everyone was cheering at the most random, like all the points you would expect people to go woo woo and start going nuts. They were doing that.
Hell yeah.
Nice.
And so spoiler alert for the first Saw movie. I mean, if you're listening to this, you probably have already seen it. If not, go watch it, I guess.
Yeah.
Get
But when
fucked, nerd.
when Jigsaw gets up off of the floor, like people were screaming at the top, like I'm talking like screaming and clapping, and just it was nuts. It was a madhouse, but it was fun. It was great.
Nice.
That sounds like so much fun.
That's great.
Yeah.
We just went and saw it in our local theater. And we did have a row of teens behind us who it was their first time seeing it.
Ooh.
And that was equally magical of hearing
Oh, I'm sure.
someone go like, "Oh, what the fuck?" To experience Saw for the first time again.
Right? Take me back.
For me, I'm not gonna lie, that was basically like the first time. I'd never seen it in the theaters outside of that,
True.
and I literally heard a soundtrack I've never heard before in my life because it was too many like sub-synths.
Mhm.
So I was like, oh wow.
Oh,
There's
this
music
soundtrack goes
right
hard.
It was great.
Is
Oh,
actually
man.
something that I noticed watching this one this time is the soundtrack really shines in its smaller and subtler moments. That's kind of when all the cool shit is happening.
Mm-hmm.
Really
Right.
neat.
I did not get to enjoy it because I was watching it on my iPad speakers, and also while
Do
I
you
was
not
playing
have
Dragon Age
headphones?
Veilguard. I was playing Dragon Age Veilguard.
Yeah, okay, never mind.
So
Wow. So unacceptable. But anyway.
we're recording on like just a few days after the game came out. I plead
Plead the what?
I plead.
Fair.
Yeah,
So-
fair enough.
I got some critical numbers on this one.
Yeah?
IMDb clocking in with a 6.6 out of 10. Rotten Tomatoes with a devastating 37%. Metacritic with
Oh.
an equally devastating 40%.
Oh.
Letterboxd, the voice of the people, with 3.2 out of 5.
Yeah, okay.
It may come as a surprise to some people. Saw 2 was not well received.
Whoa, wait, why?
And that's mostly because it was Saw 2. And people just don't seem to like them like that.
Well, also,
Really strong user fan base, very low
Yeah.
critic fan base.
That's pretty much every single movie except Saw
Yeah.
X.
Yeah, pretty much.
Be-
It
yeah.
actually made me resentful of Saw X when I saw it because I'm like, this is pretty good. But they like really leaned into letting us know that they knew how to make a movie look like a movie, and then all the critic reviews are like, Saw finally knows what the fuck it's doing. I'm like, shut up, man. It's always known what it's doing. It's just you didn't like it.
Did you
That's
know
okay.
what
Yeah.
it's doing?
They need
Yes.
to reevaluate it.
Honestly.
Time for a reevaluation.
Reevaluation.
Go back
Saw
and
X, still
rewatch the
good, but,
Saw
like-
movies. I think that if you binge the Saw, because my first experience with the Saw movies was binging them. I watched 1 and 2 separately, then I watched X. I'm so sorry.
Actually, no. Here's what happened. We went and saw Spiral in the theater.
Oh,
and that
this
was
is
your
exactly
first
what
experience
happened.
with Saw, and you hated it.
Yes, this is literally
And I
what
was so
happened.
excited to get to see a Saw movie in the theater that I didn't care. And then I made you watch 1 and 2, and you were
And I was
not
like, this
with
is
it.
fine, but I don't think I want to watch 7 more of these. And then we watched X in theaters, and I was like, that went really hard, actually. And then we watched all the rest of them rapidly over the course of maybe 2 days. And that was perfect. That was maybe the best way to watch the Saw movies, is all at once. So I'm excited to be rewatching them now, knowing what's coming. But what did the critics say? Because I'm not one of them.
Oh, okay. Kyle Smith for New York Post said, Jigsaw is a wickedly fun villain. You can put aside the implausibility of a guy who likes to saunter away from his deathbed to kidnap younger, stronger people and devise medieval torture chambers. This is good for you. With a 75 out of 100. Alternately, Peter Hartlaub for San Francisco Chronicle said that this is basically a good movie until the last part, where director and co-writer Darren Lynn Bousman ruins so much so fast that you'll wonder if his actions are deliberate or if the studio interfered.
And-
which is a wild statement to make about the
Yeah,
end of this movie.
same, Audra. that's the same.
things that make you go,
It's just, I look at this and I'm like, oh, this guy really just doesn't know how to have fun, does he?
No.
Also,
Oh.
he only watched the movie once, sat down, wrote that one sentence, and then never thought about it again.
Yeah, he never went back to it.
I think if you rewatch it, you can tell. Like, this is the way that I feel about a lot of movies that have a big twist. Is I always love to rewatch them and see if I can figure out if the twist was like super telegraphed and I just missed it. And watching this movie multiple times, you're like, man, I understand how I missed it the first time, but this is the most obvious thing ever when I know what to look for.
Yeah, there's some signals when you know that it's there.
Any other critical stuff, Noah?
Nah,
That's
the
valid.
rest of these guys are just kind of being rude about it. And
That Chicago Reader one is just straight up incorrect.
it comes to life only when it reprises elements of the original movie from J.R. Jones for Chicago Reader with a 0 out of 100.
Oh my god.
Jesus.
That's like
hard.
That's hard.
needlessly mean. Like,
That's ridiculous and incorrect and wrong.
I mean,
hate
like,
no, it's truly so wrong.
the movie is adapted from a script that was originally written to be something else and couldn't get picked up because it was too similar to Saw until they needed a Saw sequel, and James Wan and Lee Whannell didn't have the time to make one, basically.
Actually,
so Lee Whannell
that
worked
makes sense.
with right. So Lee Whannell worked with Bousman to rewrite. Is that the pronunciation, Bousman?
I don't know.
Yeah,
Oh, okay.
Bousman.
Cool.
That's why we have you here, Audra.
Yeah, to know that kind of thing.
It was originally, the script was called The Desperate, and
Yeah.
they just couldn't. They were desperate to get it off the ground, and it just was not working.
Fucking zinger. Take that, Darren Lynn Bousman.
Yeah. Apparently, yeah. They feared that Lionsgate was there's complaints of plagiarism. So they were like, hey, we make this Saw 2? And then they worked it into Saw 2.
It was
That's
originally
honestly the dream. If I were to ever accidentally write something that was too similar to something that already existed, like, I don't know, let's say hypothetically the X-Files, and then someone was like, hey, do you want to just turn this into an X-Files movie? I'd be like, hell yeah.
Right.
That's way better than never getting to put it out because it's too similar.
Exactly.
Yeah, right.
Guy that
Nowadays,
did Repo?
nowadays that would not happen.
Mm-mm.
Oh yeah, he did Repo.
Why did I not
fucking
know
love-
that?
Because you've never
Repo.
watched
Shut
Repo.
up. I'm watching
You've
Repo
never
this
watched
month.
Repo?
No, it's
If you do an
so-
episode on that, bring me back. I
Will
have
do.
so much to say. I have so
Oh.
much to say about Repo.
Repo's on my November list because now that I finished Hooptober by the skin of my fucking teeth, the movies that everyone's making me watch are Repo, among a lot of other things.
Repo was one of my picks for him.
Audra, are you familiar
Amazing.
with Noah's movie quest this year?
No,
I'm
probably
not. I'm not. Fill me in.
So I'm doing this thing where I'm trying to watch. The original number was 366 different movies this year. One movie for each day. We made tons of jokes about, haha, it's, the leap year already messed up your thing, whatever. But then I was moving at a really good pace. So I'm like, well, let's just make it 400.
Actually, I think your initial plan was just to watch a movie every day for the month of February. And
Okay, I think that was
Then
actually
it got
probably
expanded
more
for the
accurate,
entire
right?
year. Yeah.
Oof.
So what ended up happening was we went to a horror fest, and I ended up clocking about 40 shorts. You're ranging from 2 to 30 minutes long. And I was like, well, some people will tell me that these won't count. So the number has been extended to 420. But I believe at this moment, I believe I'm at 391 different movies,
Wow.
which is fun.
That's awesome.
I'm truly having a blast with it. Yeah, it is 391.
but we're getting to the point where we're getting to the end of the year, so we're getting into some gimmick months. So October was Hooptober, and then now we're doing everyone in the server, so the hosts and then the server members of Casual Obsession Discord server, everyone should join it, have all suggested a bunch of movies to watch. And yeah, so that's gonna be starting soon. Luckily, I don't have to partake, so I can only watch the good. I get to choose to
someone
watch
gets
the
to
good
sit out
ones.
of having to watch Tusk.
I don't have to watch
Congratulations.
Tusk.
Oh my god.
I think you would manage to enjoy Tusk, actually.
I'm sure I would is the problem, but
I'm sure it's gonna be fine.
It is. Have you?
I'm just
Yeah,
resentful,
you haven't
Sean.
watched it. I can't believe that you got all the way to this point without watching that one, honestly.
I'm not trying to play my I have standards card.
Well, but
immediately,
like, yeah,
but
you're not a Kevin
we're
Smith
on
fan.
an episode
We all
about
understand
Saw
this.
2.
Whoa, let's roll that back. I,
Yeah.
for one, love Saw 2.
I also love
Me
Saw
too.
2.
which is why it is now the
but
part
I
where we
don't
give
want us to
our rating.
Right.
Okay.
I'm invoking host privilege to go last,
Understandable.
Cool.
so someone else can go first.
I think the Audra, just so you know, the skating
The skating?
the scale rating is out of 10.
Okay.
Yeah. I'll go first for sure. Why not?
Cool.
Now having watched all the rest of them and knowing where this one's going, it ranks higher than it would have if I had been asked to rate it right off the bat watching it alone. I don't know if it should get franchise privilege, but it does. But like having gotten attached to Amanda and John as characters, I think it really pushes it to be I think it pushes the entire franchise up by a couple of points. So I think I gave it on Letterboxd a 3, but I'm gonna give it that extra push and say I'm giving it like a 7. Yeah.
Okay.
Well, for me on Letterboxd, it's 5 stars, and apparently
Of
I've reviewed it.
course.
I've reviewed it 22 times.
Oh my god.
Let's go.
But I've definitely seen it way more than that. So I don't know if I necessarily want to give it 10 out of 10, but I do want to give it 10 out of 10. So
You should give it
It's
10
an
out of 10.
emotional
I'm
10 out of 10
I'm
is
giving
so
it
real,
10 out of
though.
10.
Yeah,
I'm giving it 10
absolutely.
out of 10. It's amazing. It's my second favorite of the series. It does. We'll get into it, but I love it.
I'm sorry, some of your reviews really go fucking hard. I like how you got really caught up on Plasta.
I'm like, that's such an iconic line.
It's really good.
Blasta.
Oh god.
Stop reading them now.
I'm
You're
stopping.
gonna just crack yourself
One,
up this whole time.
one of my reviews being Plasta piece.
Plasta piece is really good. Jade, how about you? 3 times in the 3 days? That's crazy.
Yeah, so
Congratulations.
I had forgotten that we were recording today up until Noah sent a message on Friday, so I kind of needed to cram a little bit because we were late with the previous episode, so I just had all my timetables wrong. I had seen this before, and I historically have not really been such a fan of the Saw series.
It's
And
okay.
Saw
We're all
2
wrong
was
sometimes.
not one that stood well for me initially when I had watched them, and it's been a long time since I watched it. I have now watched it 3 times in 3 days, and thank fuck it has grown on me.
I'd be surprised if it didn't at this point.
Yeah,
Honestly.
honestly, it's. I think the big thing is it starts with Tobin Bell just being really good at being Jigsaw. Because when I think of
Oh, yeah.
Jigsaw, like in concept, I'm like, oh, god damn it, that shitter. But then I see the dude on screen and he starts talking, and I'm like, yeah, all right. I love the way that he just spends the entire movie tormenting Donnie Wahlberg.
Yes.
I'm glad they gave him a movie to shine, like, you know, pre-X and whatever.
Yeah.
Because, like, just seeing him in his Jigsaw element thriving.
Yeah.
Oh yeah, his little. Well, I haven't looked at the monitors for some time, so it's hard for me to say.
Right.
But he's probably curled up in the corner.
He's in a safe
It's like, Jigsaw,
place.
what are you doing?
Or the one where I don't remember what it is at the end of the movie, but he says some bullshit, and then the subtitles had a little parenthetical diabolical.
Yeah.
Anyway.
one of my favorite things about this movie is how Jigsaw is just such a fuck.
Yeah.
Oh, he's such a fucking dick.
The one thing that I think a lot of the other movies are lacking is his sense of humor, because in this movie
Yes.
he's so fucking funny.
He
Like
is.
he's
so
always
funny.
making
He's having
he's
such
always
a good
making
time.
puns. He's making puns. He's laughing at them. He's laughing at Eric. And it's a character of his a characteristic of his that is just it's missing throughout the other movies. And I think that
Yeah.
it's sad because it's fucking awesome.
It
No,
is.
it
They
really
make him
is.
so self-serious, and he's still like dedicated to his work in this one. But anyway, I want to once we get through the ratings, I'm ready to dive into John.
Oh yeah,
Yes.
Yes.
Jade,
character.
what was the glow up approximation of your assumed older rating to now?
So my older rating probably would have been something like a 2 or a 3 out of a scale of 10 because I really did not have a whole lot of fondness for it or anything. Currently, I think this struck at an opportune moment right now as well, because currently I'm in this little bit of an arc where I'm beginning to appreciate mid 2000s shit cinema in an awful lot of ways that I wasn't previously. And I love the I don't know, dumb splatter movie shittiness of the entire look of this movie.
It's
as
the
well as
only
the fact
yellow
that
Saw movie. It's pretty great.
Yeah, it's got the piss filter on it the whole time. It's great. I love
It
it.
sure does.
The only yellow one, like Saw X, isn't right there and so yellow.
Normally they're more green though, is the big thing. You know?
Yeah, they are until Saw X, where it's like part of it, it's Mexico, so it's got
Oh.
the piss filter.
Yeah. The Ohio
Yeah, they
filter.
crossed the line from Albuquerque.
It immediately turns yellow.
Filming in the same desert. I am gonna give it this time though. A 7 feels too low, but an 8 feels like maybe I'm inflating too hard, so I'm gonna say 7.5, I think.
I think that's super fair because my number is also a 7. I have warmed on this so much. This sat in my old Saw ranking. I want to say that I had popped this guy down like in one of the bottom spots.
And you're like a long time Saw fan as well, right?
Well, here's the thing.
I recall this being a
the-
thing of yours for a really long time.
Yeah, well, you know, it was everywhere on Netflix when I first got Netflix. They
That's
had
very true.
all 7 of the first ones. And so I just watched them when I should have been going to bed because I had to be up at 5. So, you know, it is what it is. But it had been down. I want to say I'd put it somewhere in my ranking near Saw 7 and Saw 4, which is above Spiral and Jigsaw, which I just personally do not care for. But also the top 8 spots are all really close anyway. But now I've, you know, this is the at least 4th time I've seen this movie, and I really, really like it. It's got the nerve gas house. The nerve gas house is the most contrived structure on planet Earth, and I love it with my entire heart.
It really is.
I love that they don't take too much time worrying. This is something that I've talked about a lot as far as 2000s movies go. They really just don't care about justifying themselves to you, and I really appreciate that in this one, where they're just like, you know, the nerve gas, right? Well, that's what we're doing.
You
Anyway,
remember
moving
the
on.
Tokyo subway attacks? No elaboration. You remember.
No elaboration. You remember them, right? Just
God,
a-
I forgot about that line. That's so good. But no, to what Audra was saying, I really feel like, because the later movies are great. I love the later movies. But Jigsaw being present in the present day here and not a flashback Jigsaw, it really affects the movie in ways that you really don't realize it did until you watch the rest of them and then come back. Because he's such a fucking asshole here. He's just like, sitting in his chair and he's like shaking his water glass at Donnie Wahlberg going, "Can I get some water, please?"
Well,
Right.
and what I love even more than that in that same scene is when he's like, and he can't even like make eye contact with Matthews while he says this. He looks almost like he's holding back laughter, and he says, "I've never murdered anybody in my life."
I love, oh my god, when they're like, "Oh, that psycho killer Jigsaw," and Amanda immediately was like,
Well,
actually
actually.
pushes up her glasses going, "He's never killed anyone before." It's like, Amanda, please, I understand you really fell for his whole thing, but please, Amanda, I'm begging you. I love Saw 2. It's
fun. It's fun as shit.
it's like
Oh
Saw
my
1
God.
is a wonderful standalone piece. And Saw 2, frankly, is also a solid standalone piece and a good sequel to Saw 1. And then Saw 3 through 7 is a shockingly cohesive piece of Saw, you know? I just wish it ended on a higher note than Saw 7, but that's okay.
Sad.
If it ended on Saw 6, that would be sick as hell.
Agreed.
But we got the Hoffmanator
I
instead,
have a
which
question for Audra. You said this is your second favorite Saw movie. What's your first?
Saw 6.
Me
Oh,
too. Okay, good.
I love Saw 6. It's so
I think
good.
probably everyone in chat right now, Jade, I don't know if you've seen Saw 6 recently enough to remember, but that's the health insurance one.
The health
Where
insurance one.
Yeah, where like
Describe one of the
like-
traps.
the carousel
the
shotgun.
carousel. Yes. The shotgun carousel.
Ooh, my memory of that one is very, very vague. It has been
You
too long
should watch
since I
it
watched that
again.
one.
It's-
ASAP.
It's one of the most mean-spirited Jigsaw moments, which is saying a lot from the Saw franchise.
Yeah.
But it's the most targeted at a single guy that I think that we ever get.
It's the most cohesive of a like actual thesis statement that the movies have been have made
Oh,
up
okay.
until I think X and maybe Spiral to its detriment. It's just it's got something that it wants to say, and I think it does a good job of saying it. And by doing so, it makes all the characters a lot more interesting.
And also,
Definitely.
John says piranha.
Yeah, I need to see
Lots
that.
of things to love about Saw 6.
Many things. Many people are saying Saw 6 is a cinematic cornerstone.
Masterpiece, yeah.
Yeah, it is. It is. I would agree.
But
Yeah,
we're not here to talk
maybe-
about Saw 6.
Maybe watching
We're here to
this
We
talk
will
about
be one
Saw
day.
2.
like a watch through of the entire series for me. Who knows?
That's what
I
it's
think it
doing for
should.
me. That is absolutely.
I think they're all on HBO right now.
They are,
Yeah.
So,
in fact.
all right.
Next.
Let's see. Since Emma's not here to do scary rating, we do content warning
Yep.
and the summary.
Then we go
Yep.
right into
So the
it.
content warning, y'all, you
Yeah.
know why you're here.
Yeah.
We know why you're here. It is Saw 2.
It
you know,
is, in fact.
You got the needle pit. Everyone knows the needle pit. In fact, I was talking about this with a friend of mine on my way home today. And she's like, "Well, what Saw movie was it?" I'm like, "The needle pit." And she's like, "Ugh." Oh yeah, that one. You know? But there's Amanda is in this one, and which means that we got a little bit of touching on drug use and self-harm, in addition to your usual Saw stuff.
I want to emphasize that the self-harm is shown
Mhm.
in detail
Yeah.
on screen, so just be aware of that going in. Drug use is more of kind of a flash and a montage and one of those like you know how Saw is. But the self-harm is lingered on. So just be aware.
Mhm.
I think that's it though.
Actually, speaking of throwback to the teens behind us at the Saw 20th anniversary,
Oh my god, yeah.
when Jigsaw is just like, "Oh, did you really want to die or did you just want attention?" And one of them behind us is like, "What the fuck?"
Yeah, they literally did the like, oh, that's not like in real life.
Oh my
behind
God.
us. There was, oh god, I felt so bad for them.
Saw 1 Jigsaw's morals are so like so
They really
I don't even have
weren't-
words.
They weren't dialed in at all.
No, it was
No.
definitely like traps first, morals second in Saw
Right.
1.
Well, I mean,
If he-
Saw 1
if he was-
was
he
very
was an
dialed into
asshole.
being 7.
Right.
He was just a mean asshole in Saw 1
You
as
know,
opposed to a funny asshole in Saw 2.
Right. No, he's just straight up a fucking dick in the first movie. Like he doesn't care. He just
No.
wants these people
You
dead.
called into sick to work too many times, and yet I saw you at the movie theater eating candy and popcorn. Care to explain that? It's like, brother, that's not your business.
Right.
I understand that you're depressed because you have a brain tumor, but like, let's keep this on the level, buddy.
You don't get
Dial
to
it
take
back
your
a bit.
tumor out
Dial
on me.
it back, Jigsaw.
All right.
Just a bit.
So let's get this out of the way. We're going to read the Wikipedia entry for Saw 2 because I forgot to write up my own summary. Thank you, Wikipedia, for always having our back in
Kind
a
of.
truly middling fashion.
Yeah.
Violently back and
You do.
forth.
Oh, this is I forgot. This is the one with the Venus flytrap opening.
The reverse
Think of
love
it like
bear
a
trap.
Venus
the reverse
flytrap.
bear trap. You could really tell that
Reverse
Jigsaw's kicking
bear.
himself for being like, I already said the bear trap line. I can't do it again.
Think of it like a regular bear trap.
Shut the fuck up. Police informant Michael wakes up in a room with a spike-filled mask locked around his neck. Billy the Puppet, which is a hyperlink, on a screen tells him the key to open the death mask is located inside of his eye. He cannot bring himself to cut his eye and is killed when the mask closes on his head. I'm sorry, this is not funny, but it's just really, really funny. The way that this happens for all movies, right? Like the Wikipedia summary is always not good, but there's just something about, because Saw is on paper incredibly hyper violent in a way that does not even come across in the movie itself in the same way. But like reading that out loud, I'm like, why would I like this? Oh yeah, because this movie kicks ass.
Yeah,
'Cause
it's
it's
all about the
awesome.
style. Come on.
At the scene of Michael's murder, Detective Carey finds a message for her former partner, Detective Eric Matthews. Matthews joins Carey and Officer Rigg in leading a SWAT team to the factory, which produced the lock from Michael's trap. There they apprehend John Kramer, the Jigsaw killer, who indicates computer monitors showing 8 people trapped in a house, including his only known survivor, Amanda, Matthews' son Daniel, and 6 other victims, Xavier, Jonas, Laura, Addison, Abby, and Gus. A nerve agent filling the house will kill them all within 2 hours, but John assures Matthews that if he follows the rules of his own game, he will find Daniel in a safe place. At Carey's urging, Matthews agrees to buy time for the tech team to arrive and trace the video signal. During their conversation, John reveals to Matthews that his main motivation for his games was a suicide attempt after his cancer diagnosis, which led to a newfound appreciation for life. The group is informed by a microcassette recorder. Don't say that. I'm sorry.
That's what it is.
I know. That the antidotes are hidden throughout the house, and one is in this room's safe. The tape provides a cryptic clue. Gus ignores a warning note and uses the key provided with the cassette on the door, which triggers a revolver through the peephole that kills him. Once the door opens, they search the house and find a basement where Abby, who helped with abducting the other victims, is killed in a furnace trap while trying to retrieve 2 antidotes. In another room, Xavier's test involves digging through a pit filled with syringes to retrieve a key to the steel door in 2 minutes. But instead, he throws Amanda into the pit. She retrieves the key, but Xavier fails to unlock the door in time. Throughout the game, the group discuss connections between them and determine that each has been incarcerated before except for Daniel. During his father's test, John reveals their affiliation to Matthews, who is a corrupt police officer who framed his suspects in various crimes. Xavier returns to the safe room to find a number on the back of Gus's neck. After realizing the numbers are the combination of the safe, he kills Jonas and begins hunting the others. Laura succumbs to the nerve agent and dies. After finding the clue revealing Daniel's identity, incensed by the revelation, Addison leaves on her own and finds a glass box containing an antidote, but her arms become trapped in the openings, which are lined with hidden blades.
Her arms become trapped in the openings, which are lined with hidden blades, i.e., she
Yeah.
sticks her arm through one and finds out there are blades. And because she's so lightheaded from the nerve agent, I will give her that, she does immediately stick her second arm through an identical opening. I think that's important to add.
Yeah,
Yeah.
it's okay, Addison. We would all
It's
be
okay,
doing silly
Addison. I
things.
still love you, baby. It's okay.
Xavier enters the room and leaves her to die after reading her number. Amanda and Daniel find a tunnel from the first room leading to a dilapidated bathroom where they find Adam and Zepp's bodies from Saw 1.
I forgot Zepp existed, and I was like, who's this other guy?
Like, no, John got up and got away. They forgot about this.
Literally me. I'm so stupid. It's okay. Keep going.
After Xavier corners them, Amanda taunts him by implying he will not learn the number on the back of his neck because no one will read it to him. Xavier responds by cutting off a piece of skin from the back of his neck to read his own number. Xavier then charges them, and Daniel slits his throat with a hacksaw. Having seen Xavier chase his son, Matthews assaults John and forces him to lead him to the house. The tech team tracks the video's source, and while Rigg's team searches the house, Carrie realizes the game took place days before they captured John, and the footage that they had been seeing live was actually pre-recorded. Soon after, the timer for Matthew's game expires and a nearby safe unlocks to reveal Daniel inside, bound and breathing via an oxygen mask. Unaware of these events, Matthews enters the house alone and makes his way to the bathroom, where he is subdued by a pig-masked figure. He awakens shackled at the ankle to a pipe and finds a tape recorder left by Amanda, who reveals she'd become John's accomplice after surviving her first trap and helped him set up Matthew's test during the game at the house, intending to continue John's work after he dies. Amanda then appears, seals the door, leaving Matthews to die as John hears his screams outside and smiles. So, I want to say, now that we're into the spoiler territory, I'm going to spoil Saw 7.
Oh, okay, we're spoiling a movie we're not even talking about today.
Exactly. So there is a scene in this where, in the very beginning, where he's doing the key is hidden in your eye thing, and the figure who's putting the key in his eye is walking with a limp. And on one hand, sure, that could just be John limping, but since it is canonically Larry Gordon, I literally I watched it this time and I'm like, holy shit, there's no way in hell they actually planned this out. That's so convenient for them.
They didn't at all.
There's no way.
No, because they just managed by miracle to have enough money in the budget to get Carrie Elway's back once.
Fun fact, the figure in the original Saw 2 is actually Darren Bousman doing that.
Oh, nice.
Yeah, so
that makes sense.
I don't know why he put on the limp. I forget the reason, but
he had a vision from God.
Yeah.
God was like, be on to you, Saw 3D.
Man, if God told me to make Saw 3D, I simply would never believe in him, ever. What a really rude thing to say.
Oh my God.
But yeah, here we are now. We can talk about whatever we want.
What were we talking about where I was like, we have to finish our ratings? It was John. It was something to do with John.
The way he is just such a shitter all the time.
Yeah,
it's possible.
Probably.
It could have been it.
He says so much more funny. Yeah, his sense of humor. That's what it was. That's what I wanted to get into because that's something that I like a lot about this one. Is also cut like a comedy at points. There, especially in the latter half. Much. I'm like, there were points where I'm just like laughing out loud at things, and I'm not sure if I'm supposed to be or not. But like
the scene,
there are a lot of really funny lines.
The scene where Xavier cuts the piece off of the back of his neck so he can see the number. I was
just about to bring this up.
And then he puts the skin in his pocket, which by itself is so
pocket.
funny. But then it cuts
so
to Amanda's face, and the way that she's looking at him is so fucking funny.
Oh my God.
Oh my God.
That whole scene,
so funny.
I was crying the whole time, especially because, like, yeah, he just stuffs the flap of skin he carved off his own neck into his pants pocket.
Like, well, you don't want to lose that, right?
I remember watching it and thinking, literally, like, my thought process was, what are you even going to do with that skin? Oh, I guess that works.
Saving that for later.
Yeah.
A little snack.
I actually thought he was going to eat it initially, but then he just...
Oh.
Well, listen.
He could eat it after he's finished putting in the combination. It's fine.
That's true. That's true.
So to replenish his health after his long journey. Do we ever... Okay, so here's a question. I've only watched this movie twice.
Sure.
Do we know what the deal with the safe was?
There was an antidote in it.
I know that, but what does the over the rainbow clue mean?
All of the tattoos were... Oh yeah, you do that.
Yeah, they were all numbered and they were all colored by the rainbow.
Oh, the colors.
Yeah.
Yeah.
Mm-hmm.
Got it.
But it was open at the end, so I think that either Amanda used it on Daniel, but I'm not sure.
That makes sense.
It's never revealed, so.
Okay. If you say I'm not sure about something, I'm going to take it as...
Oh, there's so much about this franchise. I have no fucking idea if it's intentional. I don't know what, like, I just assume things and I'm just like, yeah, that sounds good. Sounds correct, I guess.
I think that's the only healthy way to consume media in general.
Doesn't the Saw Twitter account follow you?
Yeah.
I think that means that what you guess is correct. That's
actually true. Officially
that's
endorsed.
my decision.
Holy shit.
Hell yeah.
Yeah, you're basically a writer of the movies at this point, right?
Right, I might as well be.
No, we can say
put
that
me
for
in
the
that
end.
put me in that writer's
Put me
room.
in, coach.
Yeah.
please, I know Saw 11's getting delayed again. We can make something crazy happen.
Absolutely.
Lee Winnell, I know you're listening.
Hi, Lee.
God. When we get to the end, before so I'm giving you a heads up now so that you don't have to think on your feet, but I might at the end of this episode ask you if you could write your perfect Saw movie. Tell me like 3 things that would have to happen in it.
Okay. I'll
Yeah.
keep that stewing in the brain.
Okay. Cool.
Good.
But yeah, the sense of humor in this one is I think there are funny moments in the first one.
They feel
for sure.
A lot more maybe intentional in this one, though. Like this one, they kind of wanted to lean into some of the humor of the previous one, kind of a Evil Dead into Evil Dead 2 kind of situation almost.
Yeah, I think so. I mean, honestly, if you ask me, I think the entire series is really funny. Like there are moments in the entire franchise that are just fucking hilarious. Like not to spoil Saw 5 for a second, but there's this one scene where Hoffman's going and looking in the apartment, and he's just getting bombarded by all this shit, and like he's just is getting jump scared by a dog, and then he like walks into the elevator, and then people are like, "Do you mind?" And then they're shaking their head at him, and it's like there's no way that wasn't intentionally meant to be funny. Like it's so ridiculous.
Yeah.
A lot of it is like really subtle humor, like in this one too, where it's a lot of the stuff that like in like B like horror movies that are like the So Bad It's Good or like the B horror movies, it's the kind of stuff that's done unintentionally because they don't know what they're doing. But in this one, it's like, I know you guys are like the people making this movie because you've made so many good serious moments up until this point. I know that when you're telling Amanda to make that face and you're having him stuff it in his pocket, that you guys know that's funny. That like this cutting back and forth like 80 times as he's like literally like digging away at his neck flesh, cutting back to Amanda's like wide eyes. You guys have to know that's at least a little funny.
Oh yeah. Well, and especially when that kind of goofy shit is happening with the world's biggest dramatic build happening in the soundtrack.
I love that part of the sound. I know everyone who
the Hello
likes...
Zep drop is the best part of every Saw movie.
So
you
true.
know,
So
because
true.
you always know some real bullshit is happening right now. And then John comes over for his immediate perfect voiceover of, "You see, the theology of crime is as such." Dostoevsky once said.
See, actually, you say the theology of crime. I'd like to ask a question about the motivations of some of these characters and such.
Okay.
I find it interesting that Jigsaw and the cops are like set against one another in this series because Jigsaw's entire like philosophical approach to his whole shtick is the kind of shit that I have heard cops say in real life. It's Andrew
right, but they
Tate
hate that
shit.
someone else is doing it. They hate that someone else is doing it.
True.
That's the whole thing.
That's very
right?
much.
It's just that he's stepping on their toes. That's the problem.
I think that's it. That especially with Donnie Wahlberg's
I
character
feel like
specifically.
especially as we get spoilers into the later parts of the series, right? And we get the whole Jigsaw cult and stuff. I feel like it would be super compelling, believable, and understandable if the Jigsaw cult involved a ton of the cops who had been attempting to hunt him and not like just Hoffman.
Yeah, well, you know, maybe Jade, maybe you should write your ideal.
All right, Lee
Saw
Wanell,
movie.
listen to me. Saw 12. I have this way that we can draw a Roman numeral 12 that'll look like a W. It's perfect.
My favorite part about this conversation is implying that Lee Winnell wants anything to do with Saw.
Yeah,
right?
exactly.
Like, Lee Winnell, I know
He's the
you're
guy.
on other.
Lee, I know you.
Lee, you're doing so much with your career that's not this one movie you made in 2004, but hear us out.
It's been 20 years. We're dragging you back.
You're coming back whether you like it or not.
We're
It's like
slapping your name
referencing-
on it, but we really want James Wan. So
Yeah,
if
no,
you
no,
could
no.
also
Yeah.
bring
It's
him with
it's
you.
like referencing talking about the Beatles and then immediately jumping to George and. Except Lee's kind of cooler, I think. That's me though. I have a crush on him, so what am I gonna do?
He's just pretty.
He is.
Noah's got something to say. What is up?
Yeah.
So I forgot that this franchise has some of the most batshit transitions you've ever seen in your life.
Yeah.
Like the car transition in the first one, really
Iconic.
good.
Mm-hmm.
Donnie Wahlberg throwing his coat on as he's walking and then suddenly is in the subway.
The one where he's
Really
gonna
good.
hit
Solid.
something and it cuts to Xavier with the bat. Or
Mhm.
that. Mm-hmm.
I can't remember which Saw this one is from, where someone gets thrown through a mirror.
Saw 4.
And Saw 4. So she gets thrown through the mirror in Saw 4, and that is a fully practical transition. The camera
It's
follows
amazing.
through the mirror, and now they're in the precinct.
Yes.
There's like
Oh,
some actually honest to God inspired filmmaking in these.
That's the
And
thing.
the
And it
one-
makes me so happy.
the one in 3 where Carrie is at the crime scene and then she's going to the bathtub. That was a whole 100% practical too. Like they
Wow.
literally made her like she ran to that shit. She like stripped everything and like had to get in like just smooth enough so that the water wasn't getting everywhere, but also had to make it look like she just gets right in. Like I don't know how they managed to pull that off,
Wow.
but they
That's
did.
insane.
Yeah.
That's so crazy.
Holy shit.
God, I love this stuff.
It is like genuinely this is something I was talking about with Noah, was like there's some stuff that like has artistically sat with me since before I even watched the movie. The aesthetics of the house itself, the specific type of worn and desaturated that it is so artistically like cohesive. It's so like it's such an atmosphere throughout the entire thing. Same with how the different characters are styled for their like hair and makeup and such, and the way that they start to like look as they start to deteriorate. I had not even seen this movie, and it had such a strong visual style that like I associate it with a whole like era of like movies and music that like shaped my interest in horror as a child that I would eventually like allow myself to explore later. But I watched Saw and I'm like, wow, Saw 2 specifically, I'm like, wow, this is the like, was this 2005? Yeah, this is what 2005 felt like to me.
Yeah.
No, I agree.
Yeah.
And it's
It
like
kind of
that's
takes you back. It takes
it
you
real
back to that
does.
era.
it's
Really?
that, and then the like Mudvayne song,
Mudvayne
as
song.
the
Yes. That song
Dude,
slaps, by the way.
it really
Yeah, that's
does.
the problem.
So the funniest thing about seeing Saw in theaters, the one friend we brought with us had only to date seen, oh God, which one did Mushroomhead score? Was that Saw 6?
Mushroom
Yes,
Head
I think
did
so.
a Saw
Yeah.
movie?
So
Yo, that's
Mushroomhead, they're from about 2 hours west of us.
Yeah.
So my friend actually has family with related directly to Mushroomhead, and was like, yeah, I saw the ones that my uncle did. I don't know which Saw that was. And I'm like, you saw the 6th one and that's it? Yeah, well, Mushroomhead did it. So, and I'm like, I think you're
That's
really
crazy.
stressing a lot that Mushroomhead did anything, but that's okay.
Right.
And then when trying to like figure out what other things had been seen, it was, I think I saw the needle one, and I'm like, Saw 2.
Yep.
And then the freezer one, Saw 3, but not all of either of them. And I'm like, oh my God, you're missing out on like,
This is the sad thing about Saw, talking about like the artistic value of it. Also, the plot is that I feel like they kind of, this is something that I have talked about, I think, to not on the podcast before, is when I wasn't a Saw fan and I had no interest in Saw, the only things that I saw about it online were like the top 10 most fucked up traps, etc., etc.
Yeah.
And it's like ranking the Saw traps by how likely you would be to survive them in reality.
The series
and then
has
it's
such
like,
a reputation with people who don't watch them.
exactly, because then I watched it and I start engaging with the fandom online who have seen it, and it turns into this genuine like love for the characters and the art of the movies. And I started to get really sad thinking about how these movies are kind of like have this reputation as gore fest, background movies and a Halloween party kind of things.
Actually, I don't know if you've seen a real big push this year from a lot of the Saw community has been, please stop calling the Saw franchise torture porn. 'cause it's
Please
not.
stop calling the Saw movies torture porn.
Yup.
Because,
This movie
As the guy
barely
that
has
just
any
watched-
torture porn.
yeah, as the guy that just watched all 3 Human Centipedes, that shit is torture
Yeah, you
to
did do that.
me.
Yeah.
So
Yeah.
that's grody. The Hostel movies, that's torture porn.
Ugh.
This is just
It's a story.
a
with
guy
traps
who
in it.
loved Seven so much that he made his own franchise based off Seven. That's
the
fine.
vibes.
It's really just a soap opera with gore.
It
It
is.
is.
Yeah.
And it's
I've been calling this horror's best soap opera for years, and The only response I keep getting is people like my cousin going, haha, yeah, whenever I can't sleep, I look up the full Saw plot synopsis on Wikipedia so I can get confused and fall asleep.
Well,
and I'm like,
he's
brother,
also got a lot
please.
of weird opinions about horror movies to begin with, so...
Which cousin are we talking about? Oh, it's a cousin I like too.
Yeah.
That's a bummer. And the reason this keeps
and
coming up with
generally
this
a
cousin,
smart
by the
guy
way,
as well, because he's like a scientist.
yes, he is a scientist. The reason this keeps coming up with him though is because he and his wife are like obsessed with The Princess Bride, and every time that we have this conversation, it goes, "I'm obsessed with The Princess Bride." Yeah, Carrie Elwes is really great. My unfortunate favorite movie that he is in, if you are talking to, is Saw, and then now suddenly we have to talk about Saw with. So I've got to stop doing that.
It is your fault.
I was gonna say something. Oh, about the traps. Sorry. This is I'll shut up for a minute after this.
No.
But with the traps in specific, this movie doesn't even have that many.
It's a little
like
short
that
on
this
traps, yeah.
it literally took to the second movie for Saw to be like, okay, we're gonna do a big crazy trap where someone actually dies just to get it out of the way, and then we're gonna tell our story here, which is a formula that they have followed ever since, and especially in X. X was my favorite version of that because spoilers for X, it's like not even real. So
God, that's
I
easily
love
the
that.
best Saw trap
It's
of
so
all
good.
time.
cannot wait to get myself caught up on the Saw movies.
Oh, Jade, come over sometime. I have them all.
I know you do.
But in this one, it's like the traps that are there are good. It's so frantic. You don't get an explanation for all of them. Like you never get the hello, here's the fucking antidote in the box. Haha. You don't get to see what the like spout, like the little turn handle in the furnace would have done, I don't think.
I think it would have turned off the furnace.
Yeah. You
Because the
don't
devil was pointing at it. You
well,
see,
yeah.
when you're in hell, only the devil can help you. The poet Jigsaw once said.
I see. But like that kind of thing doesn't, this movie's so like hectic, it doesn't really get
What
explored.
if that's my Saw tattoo? Is the little
Noah, I
faucet
That's
devil?
swear
actually
to God.
solid. That's a solid
That's an
tattoo. I'm
obscure
not gonna
one.
lie.
I would be so into that. That's
People be
actually a
like,
great
why do you have
idea.
the devil tattooed on you? I'm like,
Well,
it's
it's
a
a
Saw
Saw
2
reference.
reference.
It's a Saw reference.
It would fit under Pinhead, probably.
Yeah, probably. Anyway, yeah, I like that in this. I like that the traps are still clearly like they become kind of a character study on Jigsaw. Like they are from the get-go.
Oh, yeah.
The traps are really there to tell you who John is, or Hoffman, or Amanda. They're really more there as a shorthand for what our Jigsaw is going through in the movie, more than they are about watching someone get tortured. As much as the practical effects are like really fun.
Yes, I agree. Sorry, I thought you were going to say something else.
No, that's
after
all
that,
I
so
got.
I was waiting.
That's all I got. I just think about that sometimes.
So Jade, you said you had some trivia, and Audra, you have actually watched behind the scenes.
We have already
Yes.
said a not insignificant amount of my trivia.
Hell yeah, let's go.
Well, the big thing of trivia that I always like to bring up, that I think pretty much everyone in the world who has seen this movie brings up, is the whole needle pit.
Naturally.
Yes.
So it was about 120,000 fake needles, and they had to hire an entire crew of people to take out all of the syringe tips and replace them with a synthetic or like a fake one.
Yeah, so the
That took
little
about
fiber optic piece, right?
Yeah, and that took about 4 days of just people that they had to hire doing this for hours upon hours of day. And then that number was not even good enough because they had to add like styrofoam and other stuff to make it look like it was deeper than it actually was. So that's fun.
They ended
That's
up adding
way
like,
more
really
needles
fun.
than I thought were in there anyway. That's insane.
They ended up
Yeah.
adding like liquid at the bottom to make the whole thing shift more naturally as well, right?
Yeah, they added like some kind of like lubricant or something, just to also make it easier for her to like move the needles around, because like they were just kind of hard to move around, I guess. So they added some kind of like lubrication or like some kind of gel to make them easier to swish around like that.
Wow.
Yeah, and she was pregnant while she was doing that, so that's fun.
Yeah, I saw
She said that
She was
it
like
was really hard.
actively hiding it from everyone the whole time.
Yeah, I think she revealed it to like one other person, but no one really knew that until the premiere came, and she's like, "By the way, I was pregnant."
She's so real for that. That's iconic behavior.
Right.
What was I gonna say? Oh, I love I love the idea of being present for a process like that, of having to like problem solve on a movie set where you're like, okay, we have this great idea for a needle pit. Here's how we're gonna do it. And then you get to the practical act of making and acting in the needle pit, and you realize that it's a lot more because in your head it's like just that simple. It just looks exactly like it does end up in the final product, but then the actual act of making it happen, so much more trial and error. I love hearing stories like that.
Oh yeah, it's great. Can't really think of any other specific trivia to this one. What about you, Jade?
Frantically Googling trivia.
I literally got the Saw 2 Wikipedia page pulled up here. I had the Billy the Puppet page up as well, just to see if there was anything good in it. It's mostly just about his various appearances in the movies and stuff. Apparently, the original Billy Puppet was largely made out of paper towel rolls.
You know, he looks like a guy made out of paper towel rolls.
Yeah, and like just clay and paper mache for most of the rest of it. They rebuilt the puppet for this one because they had enough of a budget to make a better one. Rather than pulling him around with like fishing lines the way that they had previously, they made him into like an actual little animatronic is too strong a word,
okay?
But like yeah, he can ride that tricycle all by himself.
I'm so proud of him, my little guy.
Yeah, good for Billy.
That's my son.
Our son, comrade.
Our son. Our little baby boy.
There's truly nothing better than the late Saw reveal that the Billy puppet was supposed to be a normal doll for his child, and then you see happy Billy the puppet still with his like fuck ass bob, but he's like smiley and like it's like, oh man, this is my good friend William the puppet, and this is my dark, edgy, fucked up glimpse into my mind, Billy the puppet.
It's a fun fact. Another fun fact: the little one that was made for his son was named Bobby.
Oh no,
Bobby the puppet and Billy the puppet.
Noah, you bitted too close to the sun there a little bit.
So, do you think Billy like killed Bobby? It's like a Cain and Abel situation, or?
Oh, he ate him.
He ate him. Yeah, okay.
Yeah,
that makes sense.
In the womb, like
absorbed
twins
him,
do.
absorbed him into his body, and now he's Billy.
That's why he can ride a bike.
He absorbed.
Yeah. Wow.
He absorbed his paper towel rolls into his own paper mache.
Yes.
Oh my god.
So apparently the furnace trap.
Yeah.
Actually worked. Those are real flames, and they put a real stunt performer inside that box.
I love Hollywood.
I am shocked and appalled.
I'm not.
I can't even
That
say
man was ready.
say that I'm shocked. I can't say I'm shocked because a majority of the traps in this entire franchise are all practical and they all work.
Well,
Now,
there's a
with this
Interesting.
said,
between
the like top and the sides were all like removable, which is how a lot of the inside shots are like filmed and
course.
stuff. And of course, if you
Right,
put a
right.
stunt performer inside there, they're going to be covered with the like flame retardant gel that they use for a lot of other stunts similar to this,
Right.
all that kind of thing. But like, I don't know, the fact that they put a person in a real furnace in any way is just kind of crazy, isn't it? Like,
I would like to take this as
A
the
little bit.
opportunity to say I love stunt people.
I
Stunt
love
performers are
stunt
the
people.
coolest
Yeah.
Pay
guys.
them good
Shout
money.
out to stunt people.
What? Oh, it was The Thing. It was when we were talking
It was
about The
The Thing
Thing. I
last
was
week,
so...
yeah.
I'll talk about... Well, I guess I already talked about this. Ha ha ha. But when I watched The Thing remake, it's all CG fire.
Right.
And it's a real kind of a bummer because the 82 thing, they are setting these rooms on fire and it looks so good. And we've lost so much to CG fire that you just don't think about. And I think putting a stunt performer in a furnace and saying, all right, man, we're turning the furnace on and we're going to make you thrash around in the furnace. See you in 10 seconds. I think that's sick as hell.
Well, because like on one hand, it's like, well, yeah, I mean, doing fewer burn stunts is potentially a good thing because like fire's dangerous or whatever. On the other hand, have you ever heard the stories of Kane Hodder just doing these things to like show off?
It always
for
comes
people?
back to Kane
Of course, it always
Hodder.
comes back to Kane Hodder.
He fell down the stairs by accident and then got up and went back up them again. That man's crazy.
And then got up and went back up again. The man's crazy. I don't know.
I hate it
Maybe
here.
I'm too much of a Jason fan, but I'm just constantly thinking of the way that he would do burn stunts just in like interviews when talking about them. Like he'd be getting asked questions. I read an account one time of like he was doing an interview and he was answering a bunch of questions about burn stunts. And he just randomly goes, I mean, I could do one right now. Do you want that? You can get a fantastic video and everything. Like, you ever hear the numbers of, like, whatever percentage of his body is covered with burn scars because he's just done too many of these things? A solid half of those came from this one particular stunt because, of course, since they were throwing it together so quickly and on the spot, they weren't taking all the precautions maybe perfectly, so he got burned a bunch more than he was supposed to. Again, not even a Friday movie. It was just on a fucking whim during an interview because he wanted to show them the answers that they were after.
Jeez.
Yeah, massive respect to the man
and
as
fire
an artist,
is his medium.
but like, what the fuck? Like nobody's asking him to do this.
You know. Oh my god.
He loves to get set on fire the way that dogs love to pull things, you know?
The way that cats love it when you smack their butt right above their tail.
Yeah.
Mm-hmm. I have a question for Audra.
All right.
Earlier when I mentioned Amanda and I said poor thing and you said my poor baby girl, I resonated with that. What are your thoughts on Amanda's arc like in this and the reveal and everything? I hesitate to ask you to call back to remembering the first time that you watched it and whether or not it fooled you. But like, what do you think of like as far as her like acting? What do you think she expected and didn't expect and knew and didn't know and all of that stuff in this trap?
So there's not too many details as to what extent her involvement is in this trap, like besides her being there, but like we don't know if she set up specific traps. Like again, spoiling, but Saw 5, there's a flashback of Hoffman and John working on the traps in Saw 2, but we never see Amanda, so we don't really know what she did in terms of working there. So I feel like she knew where things were, maybe not what things were going to happen, but like how, like how they were supposed to do things, just to kind of guide people in a certain direction. As for, I could not remember how I felt when I first watched this movie. I was like 11. So I definitely don't remember how I felt. But I always liked Amanda I liked Amanda in the first movie, and I liked her in this one too because she's just an interesting character, and her development as the movies go on. I have a theory that it involves like the later movies, so I'm not going to get too into it now, but I don't think that she rigged traps. That's just my personal theory. I don't want to get too deep into it without spoiling anything. But anyway, so
I think that makes sense given her later appearances for sure.
Right. Because people tend to think that she's like super bloodthirsty and everything, but it's like you watch, even if you just watch this movie and you see how she reacts when Laura dies, see how she reacts when any of the characters die, like she's heartbroken. I don't think that she did any kind of rigging, did any kind of nothing. I don't think that she had any kind of deep involvement in what, how people were going to die. Like she didn't really expect a lot of that.
Yeah, I think she legitimately wants everyone to have the same kind of cathartic healing experience that she feels that she had.
Right.
And
which is why
every single time. Yeah.
Yeah, which is why like when Saw 3 happens and then like everyone's like, oh, she rigged these traps. But then it's like the more you watch the movies and the more reveals that happen, you kind of get the sense that it wasn't really her doing. I mean, she did get kind of bloodthirsty towards the end, but it wasn't necessarily like I want them to fail. Like it was more just like these people hurt me, and if they fail, I'm happy about it.
She was kind of having like her mental health and deterioration is very interesting to watch as far as like how hopeful she is for other people's success and survival. Because in this one, I think that she thinks that she tells them enough to listen to the rules and to not do things and to play the game that they'll do it, and then they just don't.
Right.
And I think that she's genuinely devastated that they aren't listening to her and playing the game.
Right, exactly. And it's though I do think it's kind of funny that they didn't suspect anything is weird with her when she was like, you didn't follow the rules.
Right.
Why would you why would you say that?
There's a lot of things like that.
He had a choice. What do you mean?
He had a choice. Yeah, like what does that mean? What are you talking about?
Because Zepp is over here like, those are not the rules. And it's like, well, you know what? Zepp's having the worst day of his life. Like that. I still don't really fully understand why Zepp was dragged into this situation.
Poor Zepp. Taken from
I
his
don't
teeth.
Zepp,
either. I
who
think,
suffered the sin of envy.
so I think it was like revealed in some kind of like interview or something that like the reason why Zepp was in it was like apparently he was like a gossiper, and then that's why like he just had like he would just gossip about all of the like the people, like all of the like the patients, all of the doctors. He would, and then he would like he really wanted to be a
That's
doctor
so
himself, but
true.
he was just such an envious gossiper, and he would just like he would talk shit about people all the time. And I think he talked shit to John once, and John was like, "What the fuck?" Like, "Oh, you're dead."
Oh, I would be in a saw trap for sure. Well, I guess that answers that question about me. I'm going in a
Right.
saw trap tomorrow.
I think we're all going in a saw trap.
Well, I mean, yeah.
What are we doing? What is a podcast if not talking shit? We already have
I
called John.
thought you were about to say, what's a podcast if not a saw trap?
Honestly,
That is also
honestly.
true. Oh my
Oh my
god.
God.
But Zepp, honestly, I think Zepp was genuine. I don't think that there was a lot of consideration for a world where Zepp didn't survive. But then again, Saw 1 is one of those movies where everything is played out to the detail that it like literally could not be, because he like
Mhm.
he seems to have predicted in that final reveal a lot of stuff that just seemed like was going completely against the way that the plan was supposed to go at the time. So
Hey, you're playing checkers, but John Kramer is lying dead on the floor of the worst bathroom you've ever seen,
Yeah.
drugged
John
out
Kramer
of his
is
mind so that you
omniscient.
can't find his
Like-
fucking pulse playing
That's
chess.
the thing, though, is that like I feel like having such a large part of the on-running bit of the series be Jigsaw is just always one step ahead. He's like a JoJo character at a certain point, right? Where it's like, no matter what, he's always got something that he can pull out of his ass that will be a massive, massive advantage for him if he needs it.
I like to think that he's omniscient. He just
Yeah,
knows
Kind of
everything.
is.
yeah,
The
I
writers
think
love him.
he
That's
must
it.
be.
Which Saw
Right.
had that insane promo art of the Christ figure John Kramer? Was that 6? Or
It was
Which one was that?
Are you talking about the Mecha John Kramer, where
No,
they're
'cause
building a giant? Because that's
no,
Saw
no.
7.
Sorry,
Yeah, I was gonna say,
Mecha
that's Saw
John
7.
Kramer?
Sorry, I had to look these up one
I've
at a
gotta
time because you guys are
find
throwing
it.
too much
Oh my god!
information.
No,
at
so
me.
it's
hang
like-
on.
It's John. I think he has like the medical mask on, and he has a crown of thorns and a red robe.
Yes, I do remember
Oh,
that.
Yeah, Saw 6. That's Saw
Okay,
6.
hold
And
on.
it was like it was like a one that was revealed later on. And like it was like a it was one that they didn't go with, and I was like, why didn't they go with that? That's amazing. It's one of the
Listen,
best.
I understand why they didn't go with it, like conceptually speaking, but that's one of the hardest
Right.
promo images
It
of
goes
all time.
crazy.
Yeah.
It goes
Like-
crazy.
Jade, have you seen this thing? I'll drop it in chat.
Yeah, there it is. Yeah, there it is.
It goes really hard. I'm
3D.
already sending it, Noah.
Okay.
I already found it.
The Saw
Okay, well
3D
that's
poster
Mecha
is
John. That's
so good.
No,
all I'm
I
talking-
love
there
it.
it is.
Oh,
There
he
yeah,
is.
I love that.
He
actually.
helped me.
Such a good
Oh
poster.
my god. It's so good.
Yeah, that's fantastic.
You know how long it took? You know how long it took me to realize that the Saw 6 poster, that like the one that they went with, is supposed to be the reverse bear trap? It took me so fucking long to realize that.
What?
Like, hang on,
Sick,
hang
I have
on.
to- I have to Google something.
Yeah,
real
me too.
quick.
Yeah,
Hold on,
like,
guys.
Hang on. 'Cause
No,
it's like,
yeah, because it kind of looks like.
Oh my god. Yo, that's Hoffman's shitty brand new
Yeah.
reverse bear trap.
Yeah, it took me fucking ages to realize
Yeah, I
that
would
because
not.
it's not
If
attached.
you hadn't said it.
It's not even attached to his face. I thought it was like some kind of like, I don't know, like some kind of like thing that you pull and like I'm like, what does that have to do with Saw 6?
It is attached to a face. Like I see a nose.
Yeah,
like,
but
it
it's like
doesn't-
usually it's
It's too far out. It's like
Right,
someone
that's-
put a tiny
yeah.
head where the ear would be.
right. I
Yeah.
don't know. It makes no sense. It's a terrible poster. I wish
It
they
is
didn't
an
go
awful
with that one.
poster.
Yeah, it's not.
Noah's geeking out over the Saw 6 like cover, like poster or cover that has the like feet that are shoes.
What the fuck is this?
Oh, that one's
They also
really
have hands that are
funny.
gloves.
Sorry.
Hands that are
That
gloves.
one's
That
pretty
are
And they're
funny.
all like
What are you
trust
talking
in
about?
This one's my
him.
favorite. This one's my favorite.
that one's
With
pretty
the-
good.
Yeah,
That's
that one's.
solid.
Well, I
Of
mean-
course,
pretty solid.
of course, that one's your favorite. There's one thing I know about you. Oh, we both said it at the same time. Noah and I said the feet
Oh,
shoes.
yeah, what the fuck?
And they
I don't
all
even
like
think that one's official. Is that one official? I've never
I
seen
don't
that
know.
one.
It shows up when you Google
It's-
Saw 6.
What the
poster.
it
fuck?
literally it's a
Why?
Reddit thread with that image saying what does Saw 6 posters symbolize?
What does that even mean? Well, there's the one that's
But it's
like
all
the
of
gloved
them-
hands, but like
yeah.
And like that one,
The
I can
glove hands
understand.
and the boot feet.
I can understand the glove hands because it's be like, oh, Hoffman's becoming Jigsaw, so he's
Oh, yeah,
putting
yeah,
on
yeah.
the gloves. But it's like,
Sure.
What's with the
stupid.
feet? Is it
I don't know,
because someone's putting on Lawrence Gordon's foot and becoming the new victim?
No, it's because Mark, until you've walked a mile in my shoes, you'll never know what
Gotta
it's
have
like
the
to be
grippers out.
Jigsaw.
You gotta have the grip. You gotta have the grippers out.
Except because Hoffman's
never-
really stupid, he took it very literally.
You know, in Saw 2, they never show you Jigsaw's feet because he's in the wheelchair. So maybe he was grippers out the whole time. We don't know.
I actually don't you see him in like some crisp white tennies?
Oh, maybe we do.
In my mind, he was wearing like really
I think when-
anachronistic tennis shoes the whole time.
I think when Eric's beating the shit out of him, you see him for like a split second because he's out of the wheelchair and he's getting his ass
damn.
beat, and
Yeah.
he's still tormenting Eric while he's getting his ass.
It's
fucking
so good.
mutilated.
Yeah, he's over here
He's
like, oh,
so
you think
funny.
you're so cool, punching me in the face?
I
Wow,
love
this
Son's
must be
kissing
what
Hold
you
on.
do.
right now. Your son's pissing.
That's
Can
the
I-
Eric
can I
Matthews
put this
they give
out there?
medals to.
I am
Right.
sobbing about the fact that John's correct prediction was that if he sat Matthews down and then relentlessly bullied him for like hours while his kid was in danger, that the guy would snap and beat him to death. It's like, John, I don't know that this is making the moral point you thought it was. You
Right.
really
It's the guys who type up the Sephiroth manifestos after needling people and then getting blocked and being like, wow, so much for the tolerant left, thought they were open for dialogue here. It's like, brother, you called them a slur. Of course they beat you.
Right.
That's
Oh,
very much the
Jesus.
vibes with John. He is so antagonistic to Mark, which is fine. Or to Matthews, which is fine.
As he should be.
As he should.
You should be
He's Donnie
antagonistic.
Wahlberg.
He sucks. But I don't think he can act like it's some moral failing on Matthew's part in this specific scenario when he snaps and beats the shit out of
Yeah,
him.
see, I
Flip side,
think
It
if I
is
may
his fault.
say.
And yeah.
I think it's a valid thing to point out, though. There would be no moral failure of Eric Matthews if he had not morally failed before. You see, in this essay, I will tell you about our Lord and Savior John Kramer and his very consistent morality system.
Yeah, I
Very
really,
consistent.
I feel like John
Very.
was working backward on this one from wanting to spend a couple hours tormenting Eric Matthews. And then he was like,
he's
I don't know,
putting
how
him
can
in
I
a
fit
trap
into
to
this?
put him in.
How can I fit this into my usual trap shtick?
I think it's actually that he wanted to have a chance to torment Matthews, but Amanda was like, I have to be the one to put him in a trap and kill him. And so John was like, okay, we could just kidnap him. Or or I could get him to come arrest me and then be mean to him until he beats the shit out of me and drives me to the trap himself.
Hoffman in the back. Can you tie me up really, really tight, please? Fucking Thanksgiving turkey. Trust me.
This is why John and Mark Hoffman are friends, is because they're both like, if I shed a little bit of blood during this escapade, I'll be a little happier.
They're both kind of freaky.
Yeah.
They are
They're
both a
both
little
really
freaky. Amanda's like the type of person to like think holding a knife on someone else is freaky. Meanwhile, John and Mark are like, beat the shit out of me right now. I'm telling you to. I'm giving you permission, you to. I am asking you to.
Please fuck me up. Please.
Please.
It's my favorite. Anytime we talk about Saw, like at any event, I always find that photo of Costas Mandalore tied up in that stupid chair where he's like, no, you got to make it look convincing. No, you got to make it look convincing. No, you got to make it look convincing. I don't look tied up right now. And he's just, the shirt is so tight. The gag is so tight. The ropes
Apparently,
are so, it fucking
yeah, he-
tits
he-
out. And it's like, brother, what are you doing?
He
We can
wanted-
tell
he
what
wanted
you're
it tight.
into.
Yeah, he
No,
wanted
he
it
like
tight.
literally.
Oh, yeah.
He like literally has a bondage kink or something like
Oh,
that.
yeah, no,
He's,
like-
it's so clear.
in like the behind the scenes of Saw 4, he's like, yeah, I want it to be like tight, like it needs to be like just please make it tighter, please. He's
No,
weird.
you
weird.
need it to look real.
He is
Ha, ha,
weird.
ha.
It's
And I'm
about
so
looking
glad
real.
that- I'm so glad that if we were gonna have a freak in a movie series, that it's Saw. They like can you imagine this type of guy in any series that wasn't Saw? They were honestly made for each other.
Kind of, yeah. Oh,
Discord won't let me
goodness.
save any photos of Custis Mandalore tied up. I think it's being it's just being
It's trying
mean
to save
me.
you.
Okay.
Oh God, look at him.
Just, he's so funny.
Oh jeez.
It's real.
That's
Oh,
really
he's
the only
dedicated.
reaction. Oh god.
To our listeners, because we do not have video, you could just watch Saw 4.
Or look up Mark Hoffman tied up, and you will get several iterations of the same scene.
Yeah.
Yeah, that's not even Saw 2. That's just Saw. I love Saw.
There's a lot to like.
There really
That was
is.
so much better.
Jesus Christ. Audra sent a better picture.
Yeah,
If you can believe it.
it's a good one.
It's
Ugh.
honestly, it's like the scenes where it comes back to Hoffman are what saves Saw 4 for me. I love Saw 4 well enough, but it's like, it's clearly the one where they're like, we got to make sure that people understand what we're doing here.
Jesus, that
And there's
collar
just
is cinched
too
on his
much
neck.
backstory, but there's just enough tied up Hoffman.
They're like, if
to
you can
balance the
get
whole thing out.
Noah, that's a freaky thing to say. I think that Noah will say things sometimes.
I'm allowed to.
Yeah, that's fair. I can't.
used to
Yeah.
have
What is this? Some
podcast.
kind of podcast?
I don't anymore, but that doesn't matter.
Saw 4
I'm sorry,
is
I
the
thought we were
one-
talking about Saw on this podcast.
Saw 4 is the one where they're like, if you just stick with us through this one, I promise that it's going to get crazy good. And
And then Saw
Yeah.
5 happened.
and then Saw 5 happened. And they're like, no, please.
One more.
But then Saw 6 happened,
And
and
then
they're
Saw
like,
6
oh, we want more of that.
Yeah.
Honestly, I don't know if Saw 6 has just greatly inflated my opinion of all of the other Saw movies because I just like it so much.
It's I think it's the best one. I don't know. I also so a little context, like, so I saw the first 2 when I was 11, and then from that point on I watched all of them in theaters. So I've seen 3 through X in theaters.
Wow.
So I was yeah. So I was really young. I should not have been seeing that. But anyway, so like I saw Saw 3, liked it. Saw 4, I liked it. I was one of the few people that actually like really liked that one. And then Saw 5 happened, and I'm not gonna lie, I hated it when I first saw it. I hated it because I'm like,
I-
what the fuck
I'm
is going
realizing
on
right
here?
now, I put Saw 5 in my number 2 spot.
I liked Saw 5.
Listen,
Saw 5 is
nothing
the one
against-
with Rita from Dexter, right?
Yeah, I mean,
Yeah.
nothing against people that like it. It's just
that's
it's too much
right.
Hoffman.
It's a lot of Hoffman,
valid,
and it's
yeah.
also a slightly less compelling group trap setting
Yeah,
compared
that's
to the
one of-
Saw 2 trap house.
Yeah, that's
Yeah, it does feel like Saw 2 light.
right. I'm not the biggest fan of the group traps in the movies. Like 5 and
Mm.
Jigsaw, I just hate the group traps. I think they're just so boring. But for some reason in 2, they just work. I think it's just because there's a chemistry to the people. Like there's like positive and negative
Mhm.
chemistry, and they all have like very
Yeah.
Yes.
distinct characteristics and personalities, and like a very distinct style, like you mentioned earlier. And
Mhm.
they're just all a lot more compelling to watch. But it's like the
Mhm.
characters in Saw 5, I could give less of a shit about them. I'm not even
Yeah.
gonna lie. Like, and Jigsaw,
yeah.
I hated all of them. They all sucked.
Yeah, they all
everyone-
sucked. Everything about Jigsaw sucked.
Everything about
Jigsaw's-
Jigsaw sucks.
Yeah, the trap house or the trap barn in Jigsaw is just it's no fun.
Ugh. And it's like that's
really
supposed to
no
be before
fun.
Saw 1. That's supposed to be before Saw 1.
Yeah,
What?
flat screen
What?
TVs and fucking laser eye Billy
Like,
puppet.
I can extend my disbelief for a lot of things in this movie, but
Oh,
that
yeah.
one I was like, what the fuck are you talking? Like it's so inconsistent with everything else that the franchise has already put up across, and it's like they're trying to reboot it, but it does not work at all. And
Which
I'm
is-
gonna just say this, and I'm
Yeah.
gonna say this right now because I know that you all hated Spiral, but I fucking love Spiral.
I
but-
know you love Spiral.
No,
Listen.
stand your ground on that for
Mhm.
sure.
Compared to Jigsaw though, I'm like, how do people hate Spiral more than Jigsaw when
That's
Jigsaw
yeah,
is
That's
that
just a
so
is
weird.
insane
rehash?
to me.
It's like
Mhm.
Spiral at least is trying to do something different, and like it may not succeed very well. Like there are parts
Mhm.
of it that I don't like, but it's like I think that I like that it tried to do something different and touch
Oh,
on like
yeah.
the cult aspect and like the fact that Jigsaw's influence on the future generations is like going to be different for every person that takes influence of it. I think that that's a really
Yeah.
fascinating way to take the series, and I hope that they continue something similar to it. Maybe not the exact same way, but I think that taking the franchise in that route instead of constantly rehashing the same thing over and over again might be the better thing. But it's like Jigsaw. I know that we're talking about Saw 2, but I hate
That's
Jigsaw.
fine.
I have a lot to say about it. But it's like Jigsaw just tries to do so much of what the original franchise did, and it does not work at all. And the reveal at the end, it's so
Yeah.
stupid. I hate that movie. It's
It's
so bad.
No, the
so
traps are so
stupid.
middling. The reveal at the end is bad. It's my
Ugh.
Jigsaw OC Shane or whatever the hell
It's
his
like
name
Halloween
is.
ends.
It's
Halloween kills. Sorry, Halloween
Right,
ends.
right.
Halloween ends. It's
Halloween
like
ends.
Halloween ends all over again, except
But
And it's
worse.
and
Yeah.
like Spiral, honestly, some of the best
The
traps
traps
of
in
the late
Spiral
era,
are really
they're
fun.
amazing.
like they're really good. I love
The wax trap has
the
stuck
wax,
with me.
the
Oh my
finger
god.
trap.
The finger trap is so good. Oh, it's like the thing that sucks about Spiral though is that the MPAA was really going hard on them, so they couldn't exactly like
Yeah.
do as much with the traps as they could with the originals. So it's like that made it suffer quite a lot. But I think as far as what's shown, it's really good. But Jigsaw's traps, the only one I like is the bucket trap, and even that's like so reminiscent of something that's already been done. And it's just I don't
Yeah,
know.
it's
It's just so
Saw
boring.
5 again.
Yeah, it's
Yeah.
literally
It's Saw 5
but
enough
worse.
that in my mind that is a Saw 5 trap, and I'm always like, oh, that's right.
Yeah.
That's not in this movie.
And it's like I already didn't really like Saw 5. The thing I did like about
Mhm.
it was all the like flashbacks with John and Hoffman. That's really the only parts that save it for
It's
me.
important, yeah.
Yeah,
It's a
but
good time.
but the traps themselves are also really boring to me. Like I just don't find them interesting. Except maybe the one at the end, like the hand trap. That one's fun. But
Mhm.
everything else I'm just like it just doesn't stand out to me. But anyway, so I like Saw 2. That specific group chat just works so much better to me because they're all
Mhm.
just they all work off of each other in ways
Mhm.
that they don't in the other movies because it's like they don't know each other at all. They don't know anything about each other, but they're all like at each other's throats. But there's the one
Yeah.
that's trying to help them. Like Xavier is like he's a big asshole, but he's also really funny. But he
I
also
love
is like
The
resort.
Plasta.
I love him. Plasta. Uh,
It's
Um,
so annoying because he's right though. They literally actually could bowl
Right.
through these walls. So here's
Yeah.
okay. This is my personal theory about the nerve gas. I don't think there was any nerve gas. I think he poisoned everyone except Amanda and Daniel, and
Right.
it was just his Zep poison all over again. That's my
Why
theory.
buy a
'Cause
second
the nerve
poison,
gas-
funny.
really?
I already have all this poison. I might
That's
as
what
well
I'm saying,
not throw it
because
away.
if he
You bought it in
really
bulk for a
dosed
better
Amanda
price
with
and,
nerve
you know.
gas, yeah, it would be so fucked of him to get Amanda again. You know, it's just not
Amanda's
cool.
so clearly not poisoned
Oh,
throughout the
absolutely.
entire
Yeah.
movie.
It's obvious.
Exactly.
So I agree. I think that he probably like injected something in everyone except Amanda and potentially also Daniel, though he doesn't look great.
No, Daniel looks pretty fucked by the end of the
He's-
movie,
he's
so he
getting it,
probably
yeah.
also
Yeah.
was poisoned.
And I think
Definitely.
the antidote makes sense then too, because I don't think an antidote to nerve gas that just continues to work like
Yeah.
after you
it
inject
doesn't
it,
make
even though you're
sense.
still stuck in the house. Yeah.
Right.
I buy that.
I buy it
The
too.
house is filling with
Makes
nerve
sense.
gas, you know, from that Tokyo subway
You
incident.
remember.
Anyway, you're gonna die. Okay, so I got to talk about my favorite addition that this movie brings
Did Audra
to.
finish what they were saying?
I don't remember.
I don't remember. I don't remember how I was supposed to finish. But anyway, basically what
Okay,
I'm
no
saying
worries.
is the traps. The group trap is just the better of the three. No,
Mhm.
X is kind of a group trap. No, not really. I guess
Not
they're all kind
really.
of
Not really.
individual.
No, they're
I
in
think-
the
Yeah,
same
okay,
room,
so-
but
Yeah. Okay. Yeah. So Saw 2 is the easily the better trap. Anyway,
Oh, sure.
group trap.
I wanted to add on to that before we go, Noah. Sorry.
Okay,
I
okay.
like I had been thinking about this as Audra was talking. I really enjoy how they don't really only focus on Amanda's relationships with people just because we already know who she is. Or just like pick a main character. I like getting to see Xavier and what's his face, the other guy.
Jonas.
Jonas. I like getting to see Jonas trying to talk Xavier down. It feels like we've seen these two kind of have this butting heads relationship and this bond since the beginning, and getting to see them have an aside and a conversation and communicate like that is something that we don't see in the other attempted group traps as much. You don't see or Daniel helping Laura around when she starts to
Yeah.
succumb. Like that's so it's the little things.
Exactly.
Yeah.
That's exactly it. That they all work off of each other, and they all they're either trying to help each other, or they're all butting heads, or sometimes both. And I think that works in its favor because they all feel like lived in actual characters with personality.
Yeah, absolutely. Would agree with that, especially compared to 5. So
Yes.
All right. So my favorite addition that this, and speaking of Saw 5 brings to the Jigsaw canon is that all of this happens in the same warehouse. Like every Saw trap ever happens in the same like half block of fucking a house that's connected to a warehouse that's connected to an underground system of tunnels.
Yeah.
It's so good.
That's really odd, isn't it?
Because like the reveal that the house is attached to the bathroom, fine and normal. That's totally fine.
But we know that
Is
the
it though?
bathroom
It's a
is
little
in
weird.
some
Is it really?
industrial
No, it's
tunnels.
not. It's not.
Yeah,
Like,
it's
Through a
Like
trap
the
door.
sewer, it's in the sewer, like going through different routes,
yeah.
and it's
Yeah,
just
so-
underneath this random
And
house.
like it comes back to the thing Nina was saying about 2000s movies not feeling the need to justify themselves in anything, right? Because like this
Yeah.
house doesn't need to make any geometric sense. I couldn't come up with a floor plan for it at all, and a lot of this is because we're simply not shown enough of it, right? But also like it's just a bunch of rooms built on sound stages. There is no layout whatsoever.
Nope,
Yeah.
And
no
I kind of
cohesion,
love that.
but it works.
I'm entertained by it. They're just moving.
Vibes,
feels like a
through
face,
nightmare.
it.
floor plans.
Yeah,
Yeah.
yeah.
No, yeah. It absolutely does. But the idea, yeah, that's my favorite thing of Saw 3 going forward is learning how much of everything is happening in the same goddamn building.
Mm.
Oh, it's deeply amusing. Anytime anyone crawls out of a room and
Into
then
the
suddenly,
into a room with with everyone else in it.
yeah, and it's just like, wait, what do you mean that the room that he's building a spare Billy the Puppet in is actually connected to the Saw 5 trap chambers and also the glass box that he
And also the bathroom.
He's working
the
with
bathroom?
limited space here.
Well, but
Well, he's
what's
also
crazy
not.
is-
Have you seen the
In the-
stage for Saw 3? It's massive.
Or in the fact that in most of the opening like detective stuff,
Mhm.
they're finding people in random ass buildings everywhere. They're like when they find the body for this informant, it's somewhere completely different. But then it feels like Jigsaw knows that he's making certain traps for a movie, and they need to all kind of be in the same area so that we can make references and stuff. I appreciate him. That's really thoughtful of him to use his
He's so
omniscience
smart.
to make things more convenient for the filmmakers. Oh my
Oh
god.
man,
I
love Jigsaw.
It kind of
I love him so much.
right. I'm still thinking about something that Noah and Audra said earlier. Okay, so you mentioned how there's reveals later on that show how Amanda didn't set up any of the traps in this one.
Yeah,
Mhm. Like she's moving bodies around and stuff.
Given her
Yeah.
whole like addiction background and everything, the needle pit as a trap for Xavier feels really pointed and personal though, doesn't it?
It does.
it does.
Well,
I
that
think it's
doesn't- just
implied.
because-
I think
Yeah,
it's
sorry.
implied that he was her drug dealer.
Right.
I think it's implied because at some point he's constantly saying her name, and I don't think that they ever really like Well, yeah, she did introduce herself, but it's not like he was calling her by like. It just felt like when he was calling her name, it felt like he knew
He never
her in
calls
some sense.
anybody
I
else
don't know
by
if
their
that's true.
names. So
Right, exactly. He never says like Jonas, Daniel, and he calls
Yeah.
Daniel Kid. So like, I think
Yeah,
that
no,
like
100%.
I think it's implied that they knew each other.
yeah.
But it's not like it's like most things in this franchise. It's not exactly elaborated on,
Right, yeah.
and we don't know later on. But I think it's implied. Don't know
And
if it is, but
Yeah. And just because she didn't set them up doesn't mean she didn't help plan them.
True.
You know?
Right.
I like one thing that I like about the greater Saw movies and franchise is each like apprentice's relationship with John and with each other, because I really enjoy that for the most part Lawrence is over here doing only things that only he can do and otherwise just going back to life as normal. I love that for him. Go off, Larry. But the other two having this kind of antagonistic who's daddy's favorite thing going on is so great. I love them so much.
that's another reason why I think Saw 6 is the best one, because it shows their actual like dynamic and like it's implied in Saw 5 that Hoffman just cannot stand Amanda, but in Saw 6 you actually see them like fucking like face to face, and they're just like, I fucking hate you. Piece of shit.
God, I love it so much where she's like, you'll never be as good as me because you were never tested. And he's like, I'm actually God's perfect baby and had never need to be tested because I'm so perfect. And she almost stabs him right then and there. And then John
Right.
goes, children, please, you need to put a cog on the big twisty machine.
Uh,
Children, please. I'm so excited to see what the next movies are about because 10 being X being what it was, I really enjoyed. I liked getting to see everything that we got as far as prequel material goes, but I would like to see more things that are not that. So I'm really interested to see what they do next, especially since Spiral and Jigsaw were kind of like, even if they weren't flops, they were definitely not received as well as X was, and I'm a little concerned that the reception to X might be pushing us in the direction of just a shit ton more prequels.
Yeah. I think that I don't know, I think that it's getting delayed again because they just can't fucking decide on a script. But like originally, I think they were trying to make it so that it would just follow immediately after X, which I don't necessarily have a problem with that because I think that Cecilia is an interesting character and I want to see her get fucking destroyed.
Please.
Oh,
But at the same time, it's like I mentioned with Spiral, I think that taking it in a sort of anthology direction might be the idea, or what they should go for next, is just focusing on different people taking Jigsaw's ideology and using it to their own gain or their own benefit to, take out who they want to take out, instead of, it constantly being about like, oh, Jigsaw's this, Jigsaw this. Like maybe even like have it so that like some of the past survivors come back somehow. I don't know. They could do all kinds of different things with this franchise instead of just rehashing the same story over and over again, which again, don't really have a problem with that. Saw X was amazing and I would love to see more of stuff like that, but at the same time it's like I like when they try to do something different. Like I know a lot of people hated Halloween Ends. I kind of like it because I do something different with it. But same thing with Spiral. I like that they did something different with it. That's kind of like, I don't know,
That's
it's just
the
something
thing.
different.
And I think when I first saw Halloween Ends, I really liked it. And then as time went on, I kind of soured on it. And I think it's the same thing with Spiral. I think initially I liked it, especially because of the traps, more than I do now. And I think that's because what frustrates me is like, I think Halloween Ends should have been somewhat of like an anthology story. I don't think it should have involved as many legacy characters as it did. And I feel less so about Spiral. But I'm like, if you are going to do something new, I wish you would just own it a little more in a lot of ways. But I think with Saw, the problem is Saw has like such a distinct versus Halloween Ends, which is like, okay, it's a slasher. We can do slashers a billion different ways, and you guys decided to do Michael Myers but young again. With Saw, it's like you can't make Blazing Saddles joke. Of course you can't make Blazing Saddles. People would watch it and be like, hey, that's just Blazing Saddles. That's Saw. Anything that vaguely has Saw traps going on, it's things that are clearly trying to emulate Seven, but accidentally stray a little too close to Saw, are immediately like pigeonholed. I'm speaking of Matt Reeves' Batman here. Everyone's immediately like, that's Saw. You're doing Saw. So I think that
I agree.
I think that if we're ever going to get more interesting because of woke.
Because of woke.
I think that if we're ever going to get like more interesting stories with just Saw trap style kills, they're gonna have to do more anthology work within the Saw universe, because no one's ever gonna be allowed to do it. Happened with literally Saw 2, the second movie ever made in this, was because it was too similar to the first one. And I think that this is just a problem that Saw has wrought on the world by being so distinct.
Right. And I think that that's part of the reason why it gets that torture porn moniker, is because Hostel came like pretty quickly after the first couple Saw movies. So people were like, oh, Saw is just Hostel and Hostel's like this. And it's just like, well, no, Hostel's just a way more extreme version of Saw that's actual torture porn with no real story. I don't like Hostel, sorry. But
actually, Hostel has a story. It's about what if two guys went to try and fuck their way through Europe.
I've never met anyone who
It's a deep story.
I've never met anyone who has unironically liked Hostel. The closest I've ever gotten to watching it was I had a coworker who would always joke about. I worked at a used video store, and we would always show DVDs on our like TV screens in store to advertise what we have. And if it was slow or if we were tired and generally just wanted to not be there, my one coworker would be like, you know what? Why don't we close the store, put Hostel on the screens, and order a pizza? And the closest that I ever got to watching Hostel was one day he went home early, and then the store got really, really slow, the slowest we had ever been. And we had an enough time to order a pizza and put Hostel in and all take a photo in front of the Hostel DVD menu holding our pizza and text it to him.
Oh my god.
And then we took the DVD back out again.
Yeah.
I've seen it once, and I think that I will never see it again. I just
Same,
think
yeah.
anything Eli Roth makes is just total garbage for the most part.
It's truly a shame because he's a guy that has an
retweet.
idea and he just can't make his idea land.
I feel like
I
he
like
thinks
Thanksgiving.
he is. I feel like he thinks he is the Quentin Tarantino of horror, affectionate, but he is the Quentin Tarantino of horror, derogatory. Does that make sense?
That's the problem.
Absolutely.
That's the problem when you're friends with Quentin Tarantino is you think that you are him.
Mm.
He's like that little annoying little sibling in the group that like thinks he's as cool as the big kids, and it's like, no, Eli, you're just kind of
No.
scary.
Robert Rodriguez manages
just
not
kinda
to
No,
do
he's
it, but...
he's just a loser.
I didn't realize Eli Roth did the Death Wish remake.
That makes sense. Ugh,
With
of course
Bruce
he would.
I am
Willis?
always
If there's a
thinking
mo-
that I need to watch
there is
more
a
of his
movie-
shit. Should I not?
If there's a movie that Eli Roth
Watch
would
Thanksgiving.
watch and say to himself, I need to remake this in my image, I think it would be Death Wish. And this is as someone
Yeah.
who didn't hate the original Death Wish when I first watched it.
I haven't seen
Really?
Thanksgiving. I've heard it was good,
That's what I've also heard.
but
It's
I've heard
fun.
that
I'm
too.
just like,
It's
I'm just like,
actually
eh.
It's Eli
it's
Roth.
not his nasty, like mean-spirited gore fest in the same way that like Green Inferno and Hostel
And Cabin Fever.
and Cabin Fever, and it's not in the same way of all his other stuff.
Cabin Fever isn't
is
even
mean and
mean-spirited so
nasty.
much as it is just like aimless.
I have a fun fact about Cabin Fever.
Oh,
Please.
So in college, I had a screenwriting professor, and he never introduced himself ever. Like I had to like actually do some digging, and I found out that he actually wrote both Cabin Fever 2, and also the remake, and he was the voice of the wizard guy in Ugly Americans. And he said,
Okay, so
nothing
did you
about
just
this.
Throw out everything he ever told you? Because I would have.
No, I was like, yeah, pretty much. I was just like, I think I got like a B in his class or something. But I was like, I don't even remember how I found him. I think I was like Googling like professors at my school, and then I was like, that's him. Why has he never introduced himself? That's so bizarre.
that is weird.
So then I looked him up, and I'm like, that's crazy. I'm like, that's just insane because
wild.
I didn't even really hate Cabin Fever. I just think it's kind of mid.
Yeah.
But I'm like, that's really that's really funny that he wrote that shit. I'm like, oh,
That's
I never
really
mentioned it to
wild.
him. I'm like, I'm just keeping this to myself. This is a little Easter egg for me.
Yeah, what are you gonna do? Have a
That's probably for the
conversation about
best.
it? Like, come on.
No, no.
I'm not talking
that was
to
a conversation.
any adult older than me about Cabin Fever.
No, it's not happening.
So fun background about me and Cabin Fever, Audra, which I think the listeners have heard this before. When I was younger, I used to look up Wikipedia summaries of horror movies because I thought that I couldn't handle them. And I was a teen. I was like 14, 15. And I was like, I can't handle them. I'm in a really like conservative Christian sheltered home. So I wasn't allowed to watch them really. So I would look up the Wikipedia summaries and read them. And I also started going on YouTube and watching like clips of, and there's that one animated sequence in one of the Cabin Fever movies where they're showing like how the fucking like thing spreads through the water and shit.
Right.
And that terrified me when I was a teenager. I don't know why, but I literally like was so paranoid about water
no.
after that. I was like, what if there's a flesh melting bacteria in this goddamn water, and I would just never know because how would you track that?
Right. Oh no.
But that and Final Destination, Cabin Fever and Final Destination scared me as concepts so much.
Final Destination. Oh my god, that's another one that scares the shit out of me. Like even now, like I still get like chills thinking about it. Like especially the first movie. Like I don't know, something about it just gives me the willies.
That's why I haven't seen them. And Noah was like, they're not that, they're just really goofy, actually. And I'm like, I don't think you understand. I have one genuine actual fear in life, and it's things just happening. And Final Destination.
That's pretty much the entire franchise is things just happening.
Happened.
What if
What if
some
shit
shit
went
just
down?
happened and you didn't know that it was going to happen and you couldn't do anything to escape it and it was horrible? And so that's why
Right.
I'll never watch Final Destination.
I binged them, and another college story, but I binged them in college, and I was supposed to drive home to my mom's house
No.
Oh God.
the next day, and I was like, uh, Mom, I think I'm gonna see you next weekend
Yeah,
instead.
maybe
I
not.
couldn't. I was so scared. I was so scared. And I watched them when I was really like stoned too.
Oh,
So I
God.
was
Oh,
like,
God.
Yeah. Mhm.
I was like,
Jade- Jade's wife was telling me that maybe she would want to watch them, and I was like, absolutely not. What are you talking about? And she was like, well, you know, the log one's just this one part of this one movie. So as long as I don't watch that one, I'm like, Becca, that's the whole thing. That's all
Right.
of the movies. That's all that they are the whole time.
Yeah.
pretty much, yeah.
On the other hand, there is this like extra layer of comedy to it because it's kind of like watching a Saw movie happen by accident.
When you put it that
That's
way.
facts. They are
Um,
really funny, but at the same time, just the concept in general just, oh, I don't know, creeps me out.
My brain doesn't want to understand the comedy of it. It's time for Noah's notes. We're rocking right into it. I gotta move my chair up to the computer so I can actually read. Noah says, "Saw smiley face." Correct.
It's just the first note. You don't have to read all notes.
But it's a good one because it's cute. Noah says, Lamau, John, please. The man is an informant to the police, and you're all, I'm the executioner in the name of organized crime.
He's so dramatic. God.
Noah said Noah had this roommate
Oh my
that he
God.
lived with for a while named Brock. Noah says,
Yeah, Jade, certified Brock
Oh
story.
boy.
Noah says, throwback to living with Brock and trying to watch any of the Saw movies. Home alone, having a great time. Then Brock comes home and sits down with me. Like, brother, I know you don't like this shit. Leave me alone.
Oh my
I'm-
God.
I was watching Saw 3, my favorite at the time, and he walks in during the freezer scene.
Of all
And I'm like
times.
fast forwarding through it because an important note, Brock is very religious.
Like he
Oh,
thinks
boy.
that drug addictions are caused by demon possessions religious.
Oh, so
Yeah.
maybe he loves
He
Saw
actually,
too.
he and John Kramer are two peas in a pod, except John
Yeah.
Kramer is cool and has swag, and Brock.
Facts.
And a cool little like goatee and shit. And Brock has
sexy
none of
voice.
those things. And a sexy voice.
Exactly.
And he's Tobin Bell, and Brock is none
And
of
he's
those
Tobin
Brock
things.
is not Tobin Bell. No.
He could never.
He could never. He will never be Tobin Bell.
He will never be Tobin Bell. Noah says, why are you such a cop 24/7? It's called being a father. And then Noah says, nah, dude, I don't think that's what
Don't
fatherhood
think,
is.
no.
It truly, Donnie Wahlberg is the worst dad you've ever seen in the world. Everything he does is about pushing his child away.
Yeah. And yet somehow as a cop he manages
Sorry,
to be
I forgot I
worse.
made that note. Yeah.
Right.
My note here that Nina probably wasn't going to read out loud.
I wasn't.
I was just like, do you think Donnie Wahlberg has committed as many hate crimes as his brother, parentheses, I will not look into this? What's the over-under?
I
For
mean-
legal reasons, we are not looking into this on this podcast, and that was only a joke.
Noah, Noah says rosary on the IV is a great touch. I
Oh, yeah.
love Jigsaw as a Christ figure, and that makes that poster even better. It's
Right.
he's so clearly that throughout this entire franchise.
Oh yeah.
Like, and I love whenever they
Absolutely.
give me little hints. So tasty.
little morsels of John and religion.
It's so good. Noah says,
Yummy, yummy.
God has failed me, and therefore I'll become God is one. This is not something Noah says. God failed me, and therefore I will become God is one of my favorite character like archetypes, and John is one of my favorite versions of it.
Something I'm a big fan of is something that we see from a different character later in the movie, which is the character who gets misunderstood as like compensating for something, but then when questioned on it, they say, "No, I have simply chosen the path of evil," like Xavier does at the end.
Yeah, this is so true.
Where he's just like, no, the reason I'm not working with anyone is because I hate everyone. That's it. I'm not
It's
driven
just
to
me.
desperation. I'm just like this on purpose.
And I will not be nice or promise to let someone live for even a second for even my own benefit.
Yeah.
Built different. Worse.
Noah says, oh, sorry.
I don't think you interrupted anyone. I think we were all just laughing.
Okay, I don't know. Noah says, that's your son Daniel. You remember him, don't you? One of my favorite Jigsaw
I love
lines.
Jigsaw so much, man.
Yeah, Noah says, I haven't looked at the monitors for some time, so it's hard for me to say. John, you fucking little bitch, Lamau, says Noah.
Yeah. The first note
We just
that
get some all-timers in
the
this.
first note that I took was
Honestly.
just like Jigsaw, you motherfucker, or some shit like that, because of the he's in a safe place line.
He's such a
Yeah,
little
because that's
shit. I
so
love him.
funny.
He's in a
That
safe
is literally
place.
so. One of my favorite books of all time is the original like serial that was Sweeney Todd, and there's a scene where a woman comes into the pie shop while Todd and Mrs. Lovett are having a beef, or like not a pun beef. They're like beefing with each other, and this woman comes in. She's got posters for her missing husband, and she's like, "Oh, I just I miss him so much, and I just don't know if I'll ever get over him." And Sweeney Todd's like, "Sit down and lift up the cover, the pastry cover on this pie, and I guarantee you'll see something of your husband." And to me, that is what Jigsaw is doing here this entire time. A safe place.
Yeah.
Such a shit.
He's just such a shit.
Noah says, I love the bitchy little way he shakes his cup at him.
Can I have some water, please?
Noah says, you see, detective, in traditional Darwinism, John, please, they don't have time for you like this. Noah, I fear that is the point.
Well, I know it is, but it's so funny to hear him say, you see, detective, in traditional Darwinism, while Donnie Wahlberg's looking at him like,
Crying,
fucking
sweating,
4 eyes, shut the fuck
pissing,
up.
shitting, throwing up.
Their whole dynamic, the whole movie, is so goddamn funny because he just keeps
I
talking
wish-
at him for so long.
I wish Donnie Wahlberg were a more compelling actor so I could enjoy their dynamic more. But that's what Hoffman and Strom are there
Well,
for
that's
later on, I
Kind of the
guess.
thing with Matthews, though, isn't it? Is he really is just that empty. When he's not able
Yeah.
to be a habitually violent cop, he doesn't really know what he's doing. That's why he gets so excited at the chance to try and resolve things by just throwing a tantrum, right?
True.
Yeah, this is true. You got me there. Maybe it is good writing after all, and this is a good movie, I say, after nearly 2 hours of talking about how good this movie is. Noah says, it's a lot of quoting, John, but that's good because we did
yeah.
not really get into the
We
minutiae
didn't talk
earlier.
about the movie
Noah
enough,
says,
I don't think.
That's okay.
why do you love your son? Well, he's my son. Oh, really? What was the last thing you said to him? Flashback. Fuck
How does
you,
he
kid.
know? How does he know? By the way,
Jigsaw
how
knows
does he know what he
everything.
said? Oh, true, he is omniscient. I did
Well,
point
but
that out.
normally,
Yeah.
normally we
We're
would
forgetting
get
the
a
crucial
flashover
fact.
of like somebody that he was paying to like stalk him.
Yeah,
the whole time
Adam
or
with
something.
a long-range recorder, one of those
It was
like
Adam
radar
again.
guns. High-speed camera, and he's just hearing, I hate you, kid.
It was Adam's ghost. Adam's like eternal torture is having to snoop on Jigsaw's future victims for him for the rest of his
Forever.
eternal life.
Bummer.
A bummer. Noah says, I can't, should I read that one?
Sure, why not?
Noah says the Saw 2 trap house is looking a lot like those pictures of J.K. Rowling's kitchen that went around last few months.
Not the same amount of black
Oh my
mold,
God.
yeah.
Mm-hmm.
Yeah, honestly, it looks better. Noah says, John really didn't think through sending Amanda to the trap house with the needle pit, huh? I think the one thing about watching this, knowing Amanda has helped orchestrate it and is in on it, is how clear, like how devastating that would be. And the like how many emotions she has to be going through all at the same time, because it's, oh fuck, this wasn't supposed to happen to me. Oh fuck, this is happening to me. Oh fuck, I have to go through with this, because if I don't, I know for a fact we're gonna get locked in here and it's gonna suck.
Mm-hmm.
God,
Oof.
I
Ugh.
feel so bad for her. I love her so much.
Yeah.
Real.
Noah says, this is a good follow-up note. Noah says Amanda's face here is insane. There's a huge part of her that really feels like she signed up for too much while we have Xavier coming up to her. And I agree with that. I think Amanda has moments where I don't think, well, we know that she has moments where she doubts John, but I think she also has moments where she like, this is like such a crucial like cult experience where she doubts the mission and she doubts herself. And she always overcomes that up until the very end. She overcomes that and comes back around to doing the thing that John would do. But it takes her such a long path that it makes everyone else not think that she's genuine. Ugh, I love her. Noah says,
If you hear that noise, I'm holding my dog, and he's just
It's
making
such a
noises.
good
Sorry.
That was such a
It's such
perfect
a-
noise.
I had kind of figured that. What kind of dog do you have? I'm sorry.
He's a toy poodle. He's almost 18.
Wow.
Oh.
Yeah, he's
Or-
very grumpy.
When you're done here, you'll have to send a picture to the chat.
I will.
Noah says, I love that Jigsaw just covers everything with these giant red velvet looking blankets. I love when you can
Yeah.
tell which Jigsaw styled or created something just by how dramatic it is, because the
If
red
John's
velvet shit is
involved.
John.
John cares.
Yeah. Yes.
John will always have that shit. Hoffman is like,
Hoffman has,
Plastic.
I was gonna say he's plastic and the waxed canvas.
mhm.
Like that's his aesthetic.
And then Amanda is just doing her best.
Amanda is exactly what John would do, but a little cheaper because she doesn't have John's trust fund or whatever he uses to do all this stuff.
Yeah.
Amanda is what John would do, but without the engineering degree.
I love especially how they pull the red drapes off of all the monitors and stuff, and there's also like lamps on the table that have been turned on the whole time.
Oh my god, that's a fire hazard, Mr. Kramer.
Yeah.
He doesn't care.
Maybe
He'd
Velvet
put
doesn't
someone
light
else
up
in a
that easy.
trap for running a
He knows
lamp like
he knows
that.
it's gonna be fine.
Noah says, go ahead.
No, I was, no, I literally don't know what I was even gonna say.
Okay, cool. Noah says, crazy that we just ignore this man for a whole movie, then kill him gruesomely in the fourth. That's not that crazy. That's what I would have done.
Yeah.
I looked up his filmography and I forgot that he's actually in Saw 3, and now I have to rewatch it to remember where in Saw 3 he appears.
That's
for a
fine. We were
total
gonna
of
rewatch
5
it anyway.
seconds. Yeah, I think we could watch the other 8 before the end of the year.
Yeah, easily.
Yeah.
I could watch this in a single day.
I was gonna say that's not even a week's worth of movies at our pace.
I think I
Right.
looked up, I added all of them together and I realized it would be slightly too long for me to commit one day to. If I have to use just a full day off, I would need the day after as well.
Yeah, that makes
So
sense.
that I can
True.
watch the movies till like 2 a.m. and then not die.
Yeah. Okay.
But anyway, that's Saw 2.
That's Saw 2.
It is Saw 2. And next time we will be watching, without Audra, womp womp, we will be watching 10 Cloverfield Lane, which I'm very excited about because I
Yeah.
haven't watched it since I watched it in theaters.
Oh, someone
Yeah.
got to see it in theaters.
Oof.
Yeah, and I was in a car. I was in a car with a guy and my college roommate, and we pulled into the wrong parking lot. And rather than pull out of the parking lot and into the theater parking lot, he drove over the divider. And so now, whenever I think about 10 Cloverfield Lane, I think about this college kid with rich parents in a fucking souped-up Jeep, just taking it right
Oh,
over this
Jeep.
divider.
Well, I mean, your
That's
average
Jeep
Jeep
drivers.
sits high enough that you're probably like, okay.
It wasn't
just,
a problem.
It's just weird.
It just was not fun for me, a scared college kid
Yeah.
with a strange guy in his dad's Jeep. Anyway,
I'm not saying it's a
I-
green
Audra.
flag or anything. It's just not as stupid as it could have been.
Audra, thank you so much for being here
Yeah.
today. This was really fun, and
Aw,
we greatly
It was my
appreciate it.
pleasure.
It was
It was
very,
my pleasure.
very
Thanks
fun.
for inviting me. Thank you for inviting me.
Yeah. Do you have do you want to drop socials? Anything you'd like to promote?
Yeah. So, I'm on Twitter, Instagram, TikTok, Tumblr, under it's Audra, so that's ITSAAUDRAW. And I also have a side account on Twitter where I just talk about horror movies endlessly. That's Carousel Shotgun. As for promoting anything, I'm part of 2 Saw zines at the moment. One of them is called Parable Saw. I think it's a Saw fanzine, though unfortunately the pre-sales are over at the moment. But the other one is called Game Over, a Saw zine, which I can send the links over to you guys, and if you wanted to
Please do.
Yeah, please.
do something.
Yeah, pop them in the
but
description.
Yeah.
other than that, that's about it. Though I do still have I know you were telling me earlier to think about what
Yes.
I would like to have in a perfect
Thank you
Saw
for
movie.
remembering.
No problem. So this one's been on the back burner for a while, but I've always had the idea of a VTuber Jigsaw sort of similar, sort of like in the vein of Spiral, where it's like an anthology, where it's a person using a online avatar to showcase their traps while streaming them. That's one thing I would want. The other thing I would want is it would take place in an abandoned amusement park for the most part. And then the other thing was that instead of it being like a dig on the healthcare system, this one would be a dig on corrupt politicians.
Okay.
I would
So
watch
that's
all 3 of those.
so that's
It's
sort
so
of my
hard.
my go-to, my ideas.
I think that's great.
But yeah.
Yeah.
I legitimately would watch the hell out of any of those concepts, and now
It is
I'm
crazy
mad that I
we've never
asked
been in a
now.
theme park.
Yeah, I'm mad
I
that I asked now
know
because
that
I know I'll never get them.
it's funny because it's like Saw 6 takes place in a zoo, but it doesn't really like
Right.
It
They don't
doesn't
do
appear that
utilize
way for the
it.
most part. It
Yeah, they're
doesn't
just
do
like,
much
oh,
with
that's
it.
why there's cages everywhere. And it's like, this isn't what a zoo looks like, is it?
Right.
I
No. I
guess
mean,
it
like
might
there's the one
be.
there's the one sequence with like the hanging trap in the, like, I guess it's like an amphibian section, or like a snake house section, which like that's cool, but they don't really do much else with it besides that. So I don't know. I think that they could do more with something like an abandoned amusement park, like have it like a Ferris wheel trap, or
Yeah,
like maybe do like Carousel Part
Yeah.
2. I don't know what different they would do, but I'm sure they could figure
I
something
mean,
out.
shit, you could
I'm
probably
sure.
do something like almost Hellfest adjacent in a certain way that could go really, really hard.
Oh, maybe we'd actually get to see
Yeah.
someone get guillotined on like Hellfest. I'm still grumpy about
Ooh.
that. I'm still so mad that they didn't guillotine anyone in Hellfest. Yeah, those are all great ideas though. I like the VTuber one as well. I feel like that would go really hard potentially also as just like
Yeah.
a Black Mirror episode if they wanted to.
Right. And I think it's also great because it's like you can hide someone's voice a lot easier too, and you can never it could be literally anybody.
Mhm.
It's kind of like how the Scream movies kind of punched up the concept of like the voice changers and the phones and stuff for the modern era, where it's like
Right.
the whodunit aspect is a lot more complex when, you know, it's so much easier to hide your voice behind like an app than you don't have to necessarily, and these big chunky phones aren't a thing. I'd like to see Saw
Exactly.
do something with that for sure.
Yeah.
Absolutely.
Cool. Thank you for remembering.
Of course.
And with that, I'll outro myself. I've been Nina. I am one of the hosts here. And you can find me at Nina Wolverina on Twitter, on Blue Sky, on TikTok, and on Instagram. I do art and I write books. I have written 3 books. And the hardcover edition of my vampire romance book is vampire horror romance because someone got mad at me recently that it was horror. I'm sorry. You guys didn't see it, but Jade and Noah just did the exact same hand gesture. But yeah, you can find that on it's out now. It's available through Barnes and Noble. So if you look up Blood in the Water by Carolina Cruz, it will come up. It's got illustrations that I drew myself, brand new cover art, and a new short story. So if you have read it and liked it, you should find it. If you haven't read it, this is definitely the edition that I would recommend getting. So yeah, super pumped about that.
Hell yeah.
Who else is here, Noah?
I'm Noah. You can find me as Bubbadabad, Bubbadabad. I am on Twitch. No,
No, you're
sorry.
not.
It's fucking habit. Letterboxd. Just find me on Letterboxd. I'm on Twitter and Blue Sky. I post the same thing on each one because what else do you use Blue Sky for?
You've been posting on Tumblr a little bit more lately.
I sometimes am on Tumblr, but I'm mostly on Letterboxd. So see if I can finish watching 420 movies this year. I think I can.
Easy. I think
It
you're gonna blow
depends.
right
I might have
past
to. I
it.
just might watch Trap like 17 more times. Is the problem?
That's gonna be me.
Yeah, that could be a problem.
I love this little weirdo that just walks through the place.
That's a
And
weird
Emma
way to
liked
talk
it.
about your wife, Noah.
Yeah, well,
That's not the
I'd
weirdest
say
or
it again.
or most inaccurate way I've ever been referred to.
Yeah.
All right, Jade.
Oh, right. Yeah, I have been Jade. You can find me on Tumblr at What Is It You Pray For and on Letterboxd at The Fakest Fan. Podcast socials are Casual Horror Pod on
Thank you.
Tumblr and
Twitter and
Twitter.
And
We're
our
still on
website.
Twitter and our website.
Where I promise I'll have that article up soon. Unfortunately, I am playing a lot of video games.
Yeah, I think right now it's just the VHS 94 and
And the Human Centipede.
The Human Centipede.
Yeah.
Noah's really carrying this website. Anyway, thank you guys for listening, and we'll see you guys next time. Thank you again to Audra for being here, and goodbye. No Emma, so no Goofy No goofy outro. Sorry.
Oh, we don't get to do the normal outro. That's so sad.
And that's when the music kicks
That should
in.
probably
Alright,
be
and
when
then
the
we
music kicks in.